Chapter 1578. Clan Hall. About 100 or so stone statue race martial artists arrived one after another. The three people standing at the front were quite old, and their auras were quite strong. One could tell at a glance that they weren't weak. They were the three dukes, Grand Tutor, and Grand Guardian. Their positions in the stone statue race were second only to the clan leader. If one were to talk about a coup, these three were undoubtedly the most dangerous. Of course, it was just a casual remark. The stone statue race had existed for so long, and there had never been any internal strife. Although Jun Changshao had a natural mocking face, it wasn't to the extent of triggering a precedent. Standing behind the three dukes were the 9 ministers. Although they also looked quite old, their auras were clearly inferior. As for the group at the back, they had the aura of civil and military officials. Greetings, clan leader. Everyone knelt in unison. Rise. The stone statue clan leader's expression was indifferent, fully displaying the absolute prestige of a clan leader. It was a stark contrast to her previous amiable appearance. Jun Changshao was arranged to sit alone beside her. He carefully sized up the three dukes at the front, and was secretly surprised. From their auras, they aren't inferior to Master. If he became the clan leader and brought them to the upper realm, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted? Good. The system said. He hasn't even ascended the throne, but he's already arrogant. Clan leader. The Grand Tutor was also sizing up Jun Changshao, so he asked respectfully, "Who is this little friend?" "My son." The stone statue clan leader said. "Mabai." After her son was born, she gave him the name Gongsun Mabai. Sigh. Jun Changshao sighed inwardly. It was undeniable that this surname sounded very cool. However, Gongsun Mabai preferred the name Jun Changshao. "We prefer Jun Go Sheng." The system and the readers said in unison. The three dukes, 9 ministers, and civil and military officials didn't care about the name, but the words "my son." Their expressions gradually changed, and they said in unison, "Young clan leader?" Swoosh. Jun Changshao turned his face sideways, his palms slowly moving upwards from his temples. "That's right, I'm your handsome, elegant young patriarch. Why aren't you kneeling down to me?" Heavens! Gosheng was about to ascend to the heavens. "All of you." The chief of the stone statue tribe frowned and said, "Why aren't you saluting?" Plop! Plop! In an instant, the civil and military officials all got down on one knee, performing the highest etiquette of the stone statue race. Any one of the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers was stronger than Jun Changshao. Therefore, when he saw them kneeling in front of him, he felt a little smug. Cough. Go Leftover moistened his throat and assumed a stance. Get up. This was truly a petty person intoxicated by success. It was no wonder that a small group of extreme readers wanted to see him mercilessly exposed, skinned, and hung up. In 3 days, Stone Statue Race's chief said, "My son will be the new chief. Which one of you agrees? Who objects?" The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. As expected of my father, he's so domineering. This. The 3 chancellors looked at each other with conflicted expressions. "What?" Stone Statue Race's chief said. "Do you object?" The Grand Tutor hurriedly said, "Chief, the young master was appointed as the young patriarch after he was born. There's nothing wrong with him inheriting the position of chief, but the necessary procedures are still." Stone Statue Race's chief said indifferently, "I said that my son will inherit the position of chief. This is the necessary procedure." How domineering, Jun Changshao thought to himself. However, he felt that something was wrong for her to be in such a hurry to hand over the position of chief to him. Could there be something wrong? Was there some hidden story that no one knew about? "I agree." At this moment, Gong Sun Ho, who was closest to the entrance of the hall, expressed his opinion. He traveled in the upper world all year round, and did not have any authority in the stone statue race. However, he was a middle-level truth-seeking realm cultivator after all, so he had a little bit of weight. "I agree too." With someone taking the lead, many officials expressed their opinions. "Young master," Gong Sun Ho sent a voice transmission. "How was my cooperation? I'll give you a thumbs up." Although Jun Changshao was worried that something was wrong, since he was asked to be the chief of the race, he would definitely not refuse. After all, he could control the entire race. He could kill whoever he did not like. How free and easy! For a moment, many civil and military officials expressed their support for the son of the chief to inherit the throne. However, the 3 ministers and 9 ministers were still conflicted. It was not that they were unhappy with Go Sheng, but that their ancestors had left behind a rule that the successor of the chief had to undergo a test. Chief, the Grand Tutor said, the complicated procedure can be waived, but the rule of challenging the warriors can't be ignored. The Grand Tutor, who had been silent all this time, said, if the young master can't defeat 10 warriors, how can he convince the masses and gain the approval of the race? Before every chief of the stone statue race succeeded, they had to challenge the clansmen who had been evaluated as warriors. Only by defeating them could they legitimately lead the entire race. What if they failed? Then they would continue to cultivate until they won. Rather than saying that this was a rule, it was better to say that it was a kind of spur. A spur to the incoming chief to work hard at all times. Or they would just keep waiting. If that's the case, the stone statue race's patriarch's eyes were cold. Are you going to object? Plop. The 3 ministers knelt down and hurriedly said, we are acting according to the rules of the ancestors. We are not selfish. Humph. The stone statue race sneered and said, using the rules of the ancestors to suppress me again. Do you believe that I won't demote you right now and send you to the Earth Spirit Evil Valley? Father, Jun Changshao said, since the race has rules, then let's do it according to the rules. Even if the stone statue race's patriarch could arbitrarily pass the position to him, the 3 ministers and 9 ministers would definitely not approve of it. Rather than that, it was better to let them see my strength. Fight. Who have I been afraid of? Furthermore, the author's father created me. How can I not let him take the opportunity to write 2 chapters? My son. The stone statue race's patriarch sent a sound transmission. Are you sure you want to fight? Shua. Jun Changshao stood up, rubbed his shiny head and said, as the young patriarch of the stone statue race, if I don't obtain the approval of the clansmen, what qualifications do I have to sit on the seat of the patriarch? All right. The stone statue race's patriarch said. Then let's do it according to the rules of the ancestors. Outside the clan hall, the stone statue race's clansmen started to get busy, and in just one day, they set up the arena. At the same time, the various cities posted imperial notices, calling for all clansmen with the title of warrior to head to the main city as soon as possible to participate in the Battle of the Saints 2 days later. The so-called Battle of the Saints was a battle between the young patriarch and the warriors. It would only be held when preparing to inherit the throne, and the purpose was to test the strength of the successor. The young patriarch is back? He's back. I heard that he was found by Gong Sun Ho. Heavens, this is a big matter. 2 days later, in the spacious hall outside the clan hall, thousands of stone statue race's clansmen gathered. They came from various cities, and on their chests hung the warrior medal, representing the outstanding elites of the race. My son, the stone statue race's patriarch brought Jun Changshao out of the clan hall and sent a sound transmission. I've already selected 10 warriors for you, and I've also specially instructed them. Then he gave a you-know-what-I-mean look. The corner of Go Sheng's mouth twitched slightly. This father of mine knows how to play tricks. Phew. Jun Changshao took a deep breath and jumped onto the arena. In front of all the warriors and clansmen who came to watch the show, he said loudly, in order to make you acknowledge me as the young patriarch, I won't fight 10 warriors today. After a pause, he said with a spirit that could swallow mountains and rivers, I want to fight all of them. In the distance, Rose of Flowers leaned against the railing, her face in her hands, looking at the back of Go Sheng's head and his shining back. She smiled, this is my man. Chapter 1579. I want to fight all of them. Jun Changsha's arrogant and domineering voice resounded outside the main hall, shocking everyone. According to the rules set by the ancestors, the young patriarch only needed to win 10 matches, so there was no need to fight all of them once. Young patriarch. The Grand Tutor said. There are so many warriors. It's too time-consuming to fight them one by one. It won't take time if they fight all at once, Jun Changshao said. The Grand Tutor was dumbfounded. The young patriarch wanted to fight a few thousand alone? The stone statue patriarch's face was almost green with anger. He had already arranged 10 actors for him, and he only needed to put on a show in front of others. Yet he wanted to fight all of them at once. How could he be so capable? The young patriarch is too fierce. One against a few thousand. This is unprecedented. The stone statue clan members who came to watch the battle discussed in low voices. Of course, Jun Changshao added. If I lose, I won't inherit the patriarch's position. If not for the large number of clansmen present, the stone statue patriarch would have directly kicked him into the Earth Spirit Evil Valley. Young man, there was nothing wrong with being arrogant. However, his son's behavior could be categorized as courting death. Young patriarch, the Grand Tutor said solemnly, the battle between the saints is very sacred, please treat it seriously. He thought Jun Changshao was joking. But the truth, Gosheng was unprecedentedly serious. Because the mission was triggered yesterday, and the content was to challenge all the warriors in the battle between the saints and obtain the final victory. This explained why Jun Changshao suddenly became manly. After coming to the upper realm, his main path was to avoid trouble as much as possible. Even if he was really arrogant, he would not foolishly fight a few thousand people. Moreover, it was just a spar, not a life-and-death battle. There was no need to go all out. The Gosheng without a mission and the Gosheng with a mission were like two different people. Most importantly, it was not a side mission, but an epic mission. Jun Changshao might not care about the contribution points, because the system had already collapsed. But an epic mission related to the realm. No matter how difficult it was, he had to complete it. Me. Gosheng stood proudly on the stage and said in a serious tone. I'm not joking. This young master is quite interesting. The gazes of the thousands of martial artists standing outside the fighting ring immediately became heated. They were all elites of the stone statue clan. Although they weren't very old, they all had extraordinary strength and potential. In particular, he was very ambitious. Since the young patriarch wanted to challenge everyone, they were naturally happy to oblige. If this was in a human environment, not to mention a young master, even if it was a young master, the servants would have to be respectful and not dare to offend them. In the stone statue clan, the status of the young clan leader was very noble, and the clansmen respected him. However, if one wanted to gain their recognition, one must have absolute strength. Patriarch, you see, what are you looking at? If my son wants to fight them all, then fight them all. The stone statue tribe's patriarch was clearly a little angry, and his tone was impatient. All right, the Grand Tutor announced loudly. All warriors step forward. Ta, ta. In an instant, nearly 3,000 stone statue clan elites strode out. Their eyes and bodies were filled with intense battle intent. There was a huge martial arts arena outside the clan hall. At this moment, Jun Changshao stood on one side, and thousands of warriors stood on the other side. Previously, the arena was only designed for one-on-one duels. Now that it had developed into a group of people fighting against one person, they definitely had to change the venue. The camera gave a distant view. One person facing thousands of people. The scene was quite shocking. Patriarch, the Grand Tutor praised. Young Patriarch's courage is awe-inspiring. The stone statue tribe's patriarch's face was gloomy. He originally planned to pass the position of patriarch to his son as soon as possible. However, things had developed to this point. If he lost to the warriors, it would definitely be delayed for a while. No, there was no what if. He definitely couldn't win. The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers also thought so, because there were too many warriors. Even if he was in the truth-seeking realm, it would be difficult for him to fight against so many. Alas, Gongsun Ho sighed secretly and said, Young Patriarch is too reckless. At this moment, none of the stone statue clan members present were optimistic about Gosheng's chances. Only Rose of Flowers believed that her husband could win. Because during this period of time together, she gradually understood that he wouldn't do things that he wasn't sure of. Battle of the Saints, begin. Wait a minute. Jun Changshao interrupted the referee and looked back at the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers in front of the hall. He said, I've been cultivating in the outside world, and what I've learned is also the martial arts of the outside world. Does it count if I beat them? It does. The Grand Tutor said, we Stone Statue Clan believe in strength, no matter what martial arts we cultivate. Can I use weapons and equipment? Yes. After receiving a clear answer, Jun Changshao put on the great sage suit and held the sky-dominating spear in front of him. His eyes flashed with strong fighting spirit. The sky-dominating spear was jointly forged by the blacksmiths of the Falling Star continent. Because the material came from the upper realm, its power couldn't be reflected in the lower realm. Therefore, after ascending to the upper realm, Gosheng asked Fan Yezi to modify it. Now it had already undergone qualitative changes. Hallmaster Fan is busy with mecha parts and armor research all day long. How can he have time to modify weapons? This kind of last-minute enhancement is too shameless. The system roared. Crack! Crack! Thousands of warriors began to rub their hands together. It was a supreme honor to be able to fight with their young patriarch, so they had to go all out. Battle of the Saints. The referee dragged out his voice and shouted, begin! Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, thousands of warriors unleashed their full cultivation. Monstrous chi waves gathered on the training field, and the momentum was incomparably vast. The young elites carefully selected by the Stone Statue Clan were quite strong. Not only were they all at the core transformation realm, but there was also no lack of 8th or 9th transformation realm, or even peak transformation realm. In theory, it was impossible for Jun Changshao, who had not stepped into the truth-seeking realm, to defeat thousands of people. Go! Swoosh! 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 The Stone Statue Clan warriors swarmed forward. All kinds of energy gathered, and the air waves created completely disturbed the space. It's over. The Stone Statue Clan leader shook her head. With so many people, if each of them kicked her son, he would not be able to take care of himself. Whoosh! Suddenly, a powerful aura erupted from the training field. She was so shocked that she hurriedly looked over. She saw Jun Changshao leaping into the air, the long spear in his hand slashing down vertically. His whole face gradually distorted, and his battle armor seemed like boiling lava. A scarlet flame cloak gathered around his shoulders. Lava as armor, flame as robe. That hot man is here. Boom! The powerful sky hegemon spear fiercely slammed into the ground like a sea-stabilizing needle. Energy ripples visible to the naked eye spread out crazily. In the slow-motion scene, the thousands of warriors who charged over had shocked expressions on their faces. Then, under the influence of the air waves and the ground shaking, they unlocked all kinds of new postures and flew up. The 3 ministers and 9 ministers opened their eyes wide. Swoosh! Jun Changshao withdrew the sky hegemon spear and elegantly spun it a few times. Then with a bang, he placed the spear horizontally in front of him. He raised his head slightly and smiled evilly. It's over. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, as if in slow motion, the thousands of warriors who were floating in the air in all kinds of postures were sent flying and scattered outside the training field. 10 minutes of preparation before the battle. 1 second after the battle ended. This was the return of the great sage. Chapter 1580. Thousands of warriors were sent flying away by that single strike. The Stone Statue Clan's clansmen who were watching the battle were all stunned. It ended just like that. It was over. The referee announced the start of the battle, but it ended in just 1 second. It was so fast that it was like child's play. It couldn't be helped. Who told Jun Changshao to use the return of the great sage effect and be possessed by Monkey King? It was so lonely to be invincible. The Stone Statue race matriarch frowned. She could feel that her son seemed to have become a completely different person when he made his move. Martial arts? Or theurgy? The Stone Statue race matriarch couldn't figure it out, but a smile gradually appeared on her face. It didn't matter how he won, because the battle was over. Her son had defeated all the warriors and was qualified to become the next patriarch. No one would doubt it. Whoosh! Jun Changshao turned around and looked at the stunned 3 ministers and 9 ministers. Are you okay? The Grand Tutor and the others' mouths twitched. They didn't think the young patriarch could win at all. But he sent everyone flying with a single strike. The scene was simply too shocking. One person fighting so many warriors was already unprecedented. And now they were all killed in an instant. No one would be able to do it in the future. Shocking. Too shocking. It could be seen that Jun Changshao came to the stone statue race and pretended to be very successful. The stone statue race matriarch announced in a clear voice, "The battle is over. My son Mobai defeated all the warriors and will take over the position of patriarch in 2 days." Plop. Plop. The hundreds of thousands of stone statue race clansmen and the 3 ministers and 9 ministers all knelt on one knee and shouted respectfully, "Young patriarch is mighty! Young patriarch is mighty!" Under everyone's cheers, Jun Changshao rested the sky hegemon spear on his shoulder, and an extremely powerful aura appeared around him. On the same day, the announcement about the young patriarch taking over the position of patriarch spread throughout the city. Everyone started to prepare, such as preparing cannons and fireworks. As the person involved, Jun Changshao was hesitating in the young patriarch residence's study. Strange. Too strange. Rose of Flowers asked, "Why is it strange?" Jun Changshao stopped and said, "I've just arrived at the stone statue domain, and I'm already in a hurry to give up my position. I keep feeling that something is wrong. It is quite strange. I suspect that this is a conspiracy." "What scheme?" Jun Changshao said in annoyance. "If I wanted to know what kind of conspiracy it was, why would I be here thinking about it?" "Young master," Gong Sun Ho shouted from outside. "The clan leader wants you to go to the clan hall." "Got it." Jun Changshao tidied himself up and headed to the clan hall alone. Just as he entered, he saw the magnificent clan leader sitting there in a daze, as though she was thinking about something. Cough, Goshen coughed. The stone statue tribe's matriarch came back to her senses. She looked at him with motherly love and said, "Are you curious as to why I'm in such a hurry to pass the position of matriarch to you?" Jun Changshao thought for a moment and said, "I'm a little curious." The stone statue tribe's matriarch stood up and walked in front of him. She said meaningfully, "Because father still has an important matter to do and has no time to manage the entire tribe. He can only leave it to you." "What important matter?" "Go find your mother." Jun Changshao was stunned and said in surprise, "Hasn't he already passed away?" "Some people are dead, but they may still be alive. Some people are alive, but they may already be dead," said the stone statue tribe's matriarch. These words were so philosophical. "Child," the stone statue tribe's matriarch said, "I know that the stone statue tribe's bloodline in your body is not pure." Damn! Jun Changshao was shocked and thought to himself, "Exposed." "Do you know why?" asked the stone statue tribe's matriarch. The system said, "Impersonation." Scram! Jun Changshao cursed in his heart and said, "I don't know." The stone statue tribe's matriarch said, "Because your mother is not from the stone statue tribe, nor is she from the upper realm. She came from another plane." Jun Changshao was instantly dumbfounded. This melon was a bit big. "Of course," the stone statue tribe's matriarch said, "you don't need to be depressed. As long as you awaken your bloodline, you will be a member of the stone statue tribe. No one can take away your identity as the next matriarch." Jun Changshao did not care about this. He was more concerned. "Which plane did mother come from?" The stone statue tribe's matriarch shook her head and said, "He did not say when he left." Left? It seemed that he was still alive. Perhaps because he did not return, his father bore a grudge and announced that he had died. "You passed the matriarch position to me, because you want to find him?" "That's right." The stone statue tribe's matriarch's eyes flickered with anger. "I must find him, and ask him why he abandoned his wife and children back then." Jun Changshao was depressed. "Your stone statue tribe's strange custom of women being husbands and men being wives. If it were me, I would definitely run away too. The upper universe is so big. Can you find him?" "I have to find him even if I can't, because I hate being played with by others the most." From her eyes, Jun Changshao saw extremely strong anger and resentment. It could be seen that she must have loved that man very much back then, and hated him, because he never returned. Wait a minute. Jun Changshao suddenly realized a problem and said, "The upper universe's space system is very strong. Can you break free?" The stone statue tribe's matriarch said proudly, "I have already peeked into the fourth step." Hearing this, Jun Changshao's eyes widened. The fourth step was the divine arcanum. Master Jinren Tonggu had been exploring this level for a long time, but there was no progress so far. Jun Changshao said in shock, "Father, you have entered the fourth step?" The stone statue tribe's matriarch shook her head and said, "Only half a step. It's still too early to truly cross over." "However," she said confidently, "breaking free from the shackles of heaven and earth and crossing the universe is no problem." Jun Changshao was a little emotional. He had always thought that the stone statue tribe's strength was about the same as Jinren Tonggu's. Now, it seemed that the stone statue tribe's matriarch was stronger. Also, Mother was not dead. She was still alive. Since she could leave the upper realm, her strength was definitely not weaker than his father's. The heavens have opened their eyes. I, Jun Changshao, finally have two super powerful backers. The universe is so big. Looking for a person is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Go Sheng said seriously, "That's why you need to think twice before you act." "I've been thinking about it all the time. I've been thinking about it for decades," the stone statue tribe's matriarch said. "Until you came back, I can finally let go of everything and look for that heartless man." That's right. He was in a hurry to pass the matriarch position to Go Sheng because he had a conspiracy. However, it was nothing more than to quickly put down all the burdens on his body and leave the upper realm to look for the abominable man who abandoned his wife and son. "Understood," Jun Changshao said. "I will inherit father's position as matriarch and make the whole tribe more glorious." The stone statue tribe's matriarch was very pleased. After a while, she took out an exquisite box from her space ring and said, "This is the secret manual that the heartless man left behind before he left. You have inherited half of his bloodline, so you should be able to cultivate it." Jun Changshao's eyes lit up at once. However, when he took it and tried to open it, there was no reaction at all. He asked, "How do I open it?" Before the heartless man left, he said that only you can open this box. Chapter 1581. The reason why the stone statue tribe leader passed his position to Jun Changshao was that he was in a hurry to leave the stone statue tribe and the upper realm to find the heartless man. But explaining the cause and effect gave Gosheng too much information. After returning to his residence, he was still thinking hard. Of course, what he was most concerned about was his so-called mother from the Blue Ocean system? At this moment, Jun Changshao was no longer a babbling child. With the help of the star chart in the drone, he had an intuitive understanding of the upper realm. And this box, he looked down and collapsed. Should I use my head to break it open? According to the stone statue tribe leader's guess, the way to open it might be the other half of the bloodline. But he just happened to get the bloodline of the young master. He did not have the other half. Ah! Jun Changshao hugged his head and said, "This is too difficult." The box's workmanship was very delicate, and it emitted a special aura. It meant that the secret manual inside was extraordinary. He could only look at it, and could not take it out. That was really worrying. "Smash it," the system suggested. "That's all I can do." Jun Changshao first set up an isolation array outside the bedroom, then took out Ask the Heaven Sword, Yanuadeo, Sky Tyrant Spear, and other weapons. He arranged them like surgical instruments, then put on a mask and gloves. Boom boom boom. Bang bang bang. After a few hours, Jun Changshao lay on the ground like mud. All kinds of weapons were scattered around him. As for the box on the table, it was intact. It was obviously not broken by violence. The system said, "The material is very hard." Ding! Settlement complete. Ding! Congratulations to the host for defeating all the warriors and obtaining the final victory. You have met the conditions. Epic Mission 6 completed. Completion rate, 100%. Reward, 1 million contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 770-3200. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the Upper Realm Epic Mission 6. Reward: Seal Opening Talisman 4x1. Just as Jun Changxiao was about to collapse from exhaustion, Sure 6's mission was completed, and there were frequent notifications. No way! Only one seal opening talisman? Sure 5's mission completion rate was as high as 600%, setting a new record. Sure 6's mission completion rate was only 100%, and he was only rewarded with one talisman. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to the lower truth-seeking realm. Here comes the main point. The depression in Jun Changxiao's heart was swept away. As long as he could break through a major realm, it didn't matter how much contribution points or rewards he received. Suddenly, a majestic aura gushed out from Jun Changxiao's body and instantly filled the entire room. Because it was too dense, the isolation array that was still in place couldn't withstand it and started to distort gradually. Boom! Not long after, the formation exploded. The aura of advancement that had gathered in the room surged out in all directions like a flood. The civil and military officials in the clan hall were discussing tomorrow's succession ceremony when they suddenly sensed a majestic aura surging from the young lord residence. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. "Young Patriarch," the Grand Preceptor exclaimed, "you've broken through?" The leader of the stone statue tribe also sensed the aura. She walked out of her bedroom and covered the young lord residence with her spiritual sense. A gratified smile appeared on her face, but it gradually turned cold as her thoughts drifted back to decades ago. Ruoli, although this little guy was just born, his bones are exquisite and his talent is extraordinary. He will definitely achieve great things in the future. Ruoli, when you come back, you will personally nurture your son and make him an indomitable expert. Ruoli, I'm leaving. Freed from the killing memories, Gongsun Ruoli gnashed her teeth and said, "You are right. Our son is very outstanding and entered the truth-seeking realm at a young age. But you went back on your words and never came back. No matter where you are, I will find you. I will ask you why you abandoned us." The advancement momentum lasted for 2 hours and gradually subsided. Jun Changxiao walked out of the room and carefully sensed the deeper mysteries of heaven and earth. He muttered to himself, "Is this the truth-seeking realm? Truth-seeking, seeking the truth of martial arts." At this level, martial artists had completely broken free from the constraints of water and could pursue higher mysteries of martial arts according to their personal preferences. Jun Changxiao closed his eyes and breathed in and out. His body, mind, and soul seemed to be one with heaven and earth. If there was another divine battle, Go Sheng was confident that he could use the Sky Tyrant's spear to defeat thousands of reincarnation realm experts without using any special effects. The system did not ridicule him because it was not bragging. He really did have this ability. Before his breakthrough, Jun Changxiao's aura was infinitely close to the truth-seeking realm. Now that he had truly entered, his combat strength would definitely soar. At the door of another room, Rose of Flowers smiled and said, "My husband is even more handsome." That's right. After his breakthrough, his head was even brighter. The next day, the major cities of the stone statue domain were decorated with lanterns and banners, as if celebrating the new year. Today was the Patriarch's succession ceremony, so it would definitely be lively. Behind the main city's clan hall, there was a high-level altar. Usually, all major events would be held here. At this moment, the 3 ducal ministers, 9 ministers, and all the civil and military officials lined up neatly, their faces solemn. Gongsun Ruoli was dressed in a noble and gorgeous formal attire, with a resplendent crown on her head. She sat on the throne in the middle of the altar, exuding the aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. There was a solemn air in the air. "Let's begin." Yes. The priest in charge of the succession hall held the sacrificial flag and said loudly, "The Patriarch's succession ceremony will now begin. Young Patriarch, come up to the stage." Woo-woo, the horn sounded. On the bluestone road outside the altar, Jun Changxiao strode forward, not recognizing anyone. Occasionally, he waved to the audience around him, and a silly smile gradually appeared on his face like a landlord's silly son. He was asking for a beating. In the end, Jun Changshao stopped at the center of the altar and bowed to the patriarch. "My son." Gongsun Ruoli stood up and took off the dazzling crown. She gently placed it on his bald head and instructed, "From now on, the entire stone statue race is in your hands. Don't disappoint your father." "I'll do my best until my death." Jun Changshao straightened his body, but his heart was crumbling. "This crown is at least a few thousand kilograms. My neck is about to break from the weight." The system said, "If you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight." Swoosh. Gongsun Ruoli stepped to the side and gave up the throne. She looked at him kindly and gestured for him to sit. Swoosh. Jun Changshao obeyed without hesitation. As soon as he sat down, all the civil and military officials below the altar knelt on one knee and performed the highest standard of etiquette. They shouted, "Greetings, Patriarch." Plop, plop. In an instant, all the citizens in the main city and other major cities knelt down, turning into devout believers. "Rise, everyone." Jun Changshao spread out his arms, looking like an emperor. In the Falling Star continent, he had sat on the throne in front of everyone. But that was just the glory given by his realm. Now he was ascending to the throne in the true sense of the word. After the coronation ceremony ended, a banquet was held for the officials. However, just as Jun Changshao was drinking with the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers, a clansman came to report. "Patriarch, the dragon tribe sent an invitation." "Oh." Jun Changshao put down his wine cup and opened the letter. A smile appeared on his face. The content was, "Our tribe will hold the coronation ceremony in half a month. We respectfully invite the stone statue tribe to attend." "Humph." Gongsun Ruoli said coldly. "We didn't even send an invitation to the dragon tribe for the coronation ceremony. How dare they send one to us?" "You can't blame them, because you didn't even inform them." "Father," Jun Changshao said, "since the invitation is sent, we can't not go because of etiquette." According to Go Sheng's personality, if you don't let me go, I won't let you go. But this time, I have to go even if I have to pay the price. The new dragon emperor will definitely be the little dragon. I'm the stone statue tribe's patriarch, and my contracted beast is the dragon emperor of the dragon tribe. Come, the 10 immortal sects. Let's sit down and discuss whether the realm hall is necessary or not. Chapter 1582. It had been a few years since the little dragon left the sect of all times, and Jun Changshao missed it very much. Hence, he could visit it now that the dragon clan had sent him an invitation. "My husband is the leader of the stone statue clan, and his contracted beast is the dragon emperor of the dragon clan." Rose of Flowers said, "Both of you are amazing." "Not bad." Jun Changshao's face was filled with pride. "Oh right." Rose of Flowers added, "The million-strong army of the devilish clan is also under the control of Yao Minjing. In that case, all 3 clans are directly or indirectly controlled by my husband." That was right. If she had not mentioned it, he would have forgotten. Jun Changshao took a sip of tea and said proudly, "Now, I should be qualified to be on equal footing with the 10 major immortal sects." He admitted that his realm was weak and was not worth mentioning in front of the top powerhouses. However, he was related to the 3 clans and his master Jimren Tonggu, as well as his group of relatives and friends. Was the immortal sect afraid? It had to be said that Go Sheng, who had developed in the upper realm for 3 to 4 years, was no longer the rookie he used to be. At least he had enough capital. Although he could not turn into the power of the sect, after having absolute power, he could do many things boldly. For example, if a large mineral vein appeared, there was no need to be sneaky, and he could fight for it openly. Wonderful. Jun Changshao's smile grew wider. However, the camera turned, and he sat in the clan hall with a stiff expression. Since he had become the new leader, there was no lack of meetings in the hall. However, the 3 ministers and 9 ministers handed all kinds of memorials and documents to him as soon as he arrived, and they were almost piled up into a small mountain. Jun Changshao broke down. "How long have you been accumulating these clan affairs?" 3 to 4 years. The Grand Tutor said. There are still many that have not been presented. Because of Gongsun Ruoli's personal relationship problems, she rarely interfered with clan affairs since a few years ago. So the internal affairs were always handled by the 3 ministers and 9 ministers. Now that the new leader had arrived, he must review them personally. No. Jun Changshao held his head and said, My head hurts. There were so many memorials, and so many internal affairs. Just going through them one by one would take a few days. It felt good to be in control of a tribe. But Go Sheng had forgotten that being the leader of a tribe was much more difficult than being the leader of a sect. After all, he had to manage tens of millions of tribesmen and deal with all sorts of matters. Night fell. Jun Changshao was sitting in his sleeping quarters, flipping through the memorials in despair. He had been working continuously for several hours. Looking at the densely packed words on the paper, he felt as if they had turned into sharp swords, flying into his consciousness and madly stimulating the nerves in his brain, sending him waves of pain. I can't. Jun Changshao leaned his face against the table. The considerate rows of flowers brought him a cup of refreshing tea, and said with a smile, It's only been half a day, and you can't take it anymore? Jun Changshao was speechless. I'm not you. I haven't managed an entire tribe before. Wait a minute. Go Sheng's eyes suddenly lit up. Rows of flowers guessed his thoughts and said, You don't want me to review the memorials and deal with the internal affairs of the stone statue tribe, do you? Isn't taking care of an entire tribe a piece of cake for you? Jun Changshao said. Rows of flowers said, You're the leader. The custom of the stone statue tribe is that women are husbands and men are wives. It's reasonable for you to deal with the internal affairs of the tribe, Jun Changshao said. Bah! The system spat out a mouthful of phlegm. In the past, it had refused to acknowledge the marriage contract. Now that it needed a tool, it began to make an issue of it. That's not right, Rows of Flowers said. As the saying goes, the husband is in charge of external affairs, and the wife is in charge of internal affairs. Since it's an internal affair of the tribe, shouldn't it be handled by you? Well done. The system praised. Jun Changshao was speechless. Currently, there were only 2 people who could make him feel defeated. One was Rows of Flowers, and the other was Lu Qianqian. What about the system? Sorry, it was not human. In the beginning, Lu Qianqian had dissed Go Sheng because she was not strong enough in the early stages of development and liked to boast. Later on, as her realm gradually increased, she became less sharp-tongued and almost lost her sense of existence. As for Rows of Flowers, Jun Changshao had entered the Soul Continent with the help of the space-time worm. Before he knew his identity, he had been caught by her. Here, Jun Changshao pushed the memorial over and said, You handle it. I'm not professional. It's not that you're not professional, you're shameless. The system's words said what many people were thinking. Okay. Rows of Flowers sat down and picked up a memorial to read. Needless to say, Go Sheng looked like a monkey sitting on pins and needles when he read the memorial. He looked calm and not awkward at all. Professional. In one night, Rows of Flowers finished reading the memorial. Amazing. Jun Changshao gave her a thumbs up. Reading the memorial allowed Rows of Flowers to regain the feeling of being an empress. So after she was done, she said lazily, Make tea. Yes. Jun Changshao bowed and left. After taking 2 steps, he was stunned and broke down. What do I think I am? The system said, worthy of the name. Early morning. A routine meeting in the clan hall. The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers flipped through the memorial one by one, and their eyes gradually lit up. So many internal affairs had piled up, and were finished in one night. This new clan leader was capable. Grand Tutor, Jun Changshao said lightly. Have you prepared the gifts for the trip to the Dragon Clan? Little Long Long was going to succeed the position of Dragon Emperor. As the host, since he was going to congratulate him, he must prepare enough sincerity and not lose his way. Clan leader, it's ready. The Grand Tutor handed over the gift list. On it were listed ores, crystal cores, medicinal herbs, and other things. Just from the names alone, it was very precious. Not bad. Jun Changshao nodded in satisfaction and announced, We'll set off tomorrow. The Grand Tutor said, clan leader wants to go to the dragon territory personally? Of course. It's a little inappropriate. When the clan leader succeeded the position, the dragon clan did not send anyone. Now that the dragon emperor was ascending the throne, it was enough to send a representative. If the clan leader wanted to go personally, it would be too embarrassing. I've made up my mind, Jun Changshao said. No one can object. The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers fell silent. This new clan leader was even more domineering than the previous clan leader. Like father, like son. All of you. Jun Changshao clasped his fingers and said seriously, you'll have to go too. Huh. The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers were stunned. Not only did Go Sheng want to go personally as the clan leader, but he also wanted to bring Gongsun Ruoli and a group of civil and military officials. It was not for anything else but to support little Longlong. If it was not for the lack of time, he might have returned to the sect of all times and brought the upper echelons and disciples. The next day, the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers and a few hundred elites gathered outside the clan hall. Gongsun Ruoli was also there. She had planned to leave the stone statue region, but she could not resist her son's persuasion. Hence, she decided to accompany him to the dragon clan before going out to find the heartless man. Buzz! The ancient warship appeared out of nowhere. Get on the ship. Shwa, shwa, shwa. In an instant, the upper echelons and elites of the stone statue race flew up. This was a grand lineup. Those who did not know would think that they were going to the dragon clan to fight. Swish, the ancient warship started moving and gradually merged into the vortex. Sect of all times. Old Ding, Elder Wei, and the others were frowning. The 2 dragon clan members had woken up and told them a piece of bad news. Hence, they were in a dilemma. Hall Masterly, Jiangye said. Have you contacted the patriarch? No. Li Luoqiu shook her head. Sigh. Jiangye sighed helplessly. At this juncture, the patriarch had gone to the stone statue region. What should they do? We can't wait any longer. Old Ding stood up and said solemnly, this matter is very serious. If the patriarch is there, he will not hesitate. Hence, we must act immediately. That's right. The black and white Rakshasa, Old Ge, and the others agreed. Do you know where the dragon clan is? Elder Wei asked. Everyone fell silent. At this moment Ryu Sinan said, I know. Let's go. To the dragon clan. Swish. Swish. That day, 3,000 Diablo aircraft flew out of the sect of all times under Zhong Yi's lead. With Ryu Sinan as the leader, the upper echelons of the sect moved together. Yao Minjing realized the seriousness of the situation and immediately deployed 200,000 devil army soldiers from the mountains. Jun Changshao had brought the stone statue tribe's elites to support little Long Long, but they had brought so many people with them just to fight. The Spirit Beast Hall also moved out. The 10,000 longevity fiend king led the upper echelons and followed closely behind. Wait. Halfway there, Old Neo slapped his head and said, why hasn't the hall master come out yet? If the Purple King knew, he would definitely roar at the top of his lungs. You guys finally remembered me. Chapter 1583. The black and white Rakshasas, Old Ding, and the others stood in the snow, looking at each other. Elder Lu, Jiangye could not help but ask, what is this place? How would I know? Ryu Sinan said. Everyone was stunned. You're the one leading the way. If you don't know, who will? Don't worry. Ryu Sinan sat cross-legged on a snow mountain, trying hard to recall. Let me think about how to get to the dragon field. Everyone's mouth twitched. I remember now. Ryu Sinan slapped his forehead. The dragon field should be in the East Sea region. Where? East Sea. Where is this place? How would I know? Brother. It's only 1,000 miles from here to the West Sea. Wrong way. Everyone fell to the ground. The road from the East Sea to the West Sea. And he still did not realize that he had gone the wrong way. What a terrible sense of direction. Everyone did not have time to complain. Since they were given the location, they quickly changed the direction. With Ryu Sinan leading the way, the journey to the dragon field was destined to be lonely. As for whether they could find the entrance, it was still unknown. the space-time tunnel. The ancient warship was moving at high speed. Father. Jun Changshao stood at the bow of the ship, looking at the illusory environment. He was surprised. How was this opened? The stone statue race and the dragon race were close. The ancestors of both sides spent a lot of time to open a tunnel connecting the two fields, Gongsun Ruoli explained. A field was actually a small independent space, always relying on the system of the upper realm. So, it was possible to open a tunnel, but not to extend to the upper realm. I see. Jun Changshao understood. Of course, Gongsun Ruoli said. There's another important function. What function? My son. Do you know about the demonic race 100,000 years ago? I've heard of them. The demonic ancestor of the demonic race was an extremely ambitious person and could enter the divine realm at any time. He was not tolerated by the 10 great celestial sects, and in the end, he fell, and even his ancestral land was sealed. Oh, Jun Changshao responded. When he was in the upper realm, the version he heard was that the demonic tribe was in danger of harming living creatures. The 10 major celestial sects and other clans joined forces to eliminate them for the sake of the stability of the upper realm. Gongsun Ruoli said. Although my clan and the dragon clan did not participate in the extermination of the demonic clan, we were naturally worried that the 10 major immortal sects would use the same reason to target us. Therefore, we opened up a space-time tunnel, hoping that we could provide timely assistance when one of us is in trouble. Foresight. Jun Changshao asked, how's the relationship between the two races now? It's all right. From these 3 words, Gosheng roughly guessed that the relationship between the two parties should be very faint. In the general trend of the world, if one is united for a long time, one must separate, and if one is separated for a long time, one must unite. It is almost impossible to maintain a long-term friendship. Father. Jun Changshao said proudly. When we go to the dragon field this time, the friendship between our two races will definitely be unbreakable. What do you mean? Gongsun Ruoli asked. You'll know when the time comes. Allow me to keep you in suspense for now. Jun Changshao did not intend to tell the person who was about to succeed the dragon emperor was his contracted beast. This was because it would be more impressive to say it in front of the 3 dukes and 9 ministers. Gongsun Ruoli said. As far as I know, the position of dragon emperor has been vacant for a long time. The 4 great dragon kings have been fighting fiercely for it. Why would someone suddenly succeed the throne? Could it be that they have decided who's better? Jun Changshao did not think so. My contracted beast is a legitimate 5-clawed golden dragon, the dragon emperor appointed by the dragon clan. Before coming, the 4 great dragon kings could fight for it. When he returns to the dragon field, won't he obediently listen to my orders? Whoosh! The ancient warship sped up. After a few hours, it finally reached the end. It gradually merged into the vortex layer and appeared in a huge and complex array. This was the end of the tunnel. This was the dragon field. However, when the array's light gradually dissipated, martial artists in fine armor stood with spears in their hands. The leader shouted, "Who are you?" Since they flew in from the tunnel, they must be from the stone statue race. However, as the leader of the tunnel guards, he had to go through the formalities. Moreover, there were close to 1,000 people on the warship. No matter how he looked at it, it seemed like they were here to cause trouble. Stone statue race leader, the Grand Tutor said, "I'm here to congratulate the Dragon Emperor on his ascension." Whoosh! With that, a stream of light flew out. The Dragon Race General caught the stone statue race token. After confirming its authenticity, he waved his hand to signal the soldiers to withdraw their battle stance. He then cupped his hands and said, "It's just a routine matter. Please forgive us." In his heart he muttered, "Although my emperor's ascension is a joyous occasion, the stone statue race doesn't have to send so many people to congratulate me." The dragon field's environment was not bad, but it was still lacking compared to the stone statue race. However, the dense dragon chi in the air gave off an indescribable feeling. Jun Changshao kept the ancient warship and followed the guide to the main city. Along the way, he saw many dragon race martial artists, and their auras were not ordinary. The three races' population was far less than the human race, but because of their special bloodline, they were stronger. My son. Gongsun Ruoli sent a voice transmission. The overall strength of the dragon race is not inferior to the stone statue race. As the race leader, you must be careful in handling the relationship between the two races. You must not easily create conflicts. I won't. Jun Changxiao said. We're all family. A family? Gongsun Ruoli was confused. The dragon race's main city was called Dragon City. As it was very close to the space-time tunnel's teleportation formation, the group arrived at their destination in a short while. The city's scale was even more magnificent than the demon race's main city. This race had a foundation. Everyone please. Please. Jun Changxiao entered Dragon City and instantly unlocked a new achievement. He had entered the main cities of the three races in his lifetime. Who in the entire upper world could do it? The Dragon Emperor's Ascension ceremony was held a few days later, and the main city was already decorated with lanterns and streamers. Race leader Gongsun. The old man leading the way stopped in front of a luxurious mansion and cupped his hands. This is your residence. Thank you. Jun Changxiao returned the greeting. Later, my race's elders will come to visit. I'll take my leave first. Take care. As this was Little Dragon's territory, Go Sheng was very polite. The race expert thought to himself, I didn't expect the new stone statue race leader to be so easygoing. Easygoing? Circle it and wait for a test. The courtyard arranged by the dragon race was very big. Although Jun Changxiao brought many clansmen, it was not crowded at all when they moved in one after another. Afternoon. The dragon race sent an elder to visit. As the race leader, Jun Changxiao had to entertain guests. Both sides chatted happily. Strange. After the elder left, Gongsun Ruoli walked in from the backyard and asked in confusion, why isn't the high priest here? If it were them, the dragon race would definitely send the three dukes to congratulate them. But they only sent an elder. Clearly, they were looking down on them. The ceremony is about to start. Maybe he's busy. Jun Changxiao closed his eyes and searched for Little Dragon's location. But due to the disturbance of the dragon chi, he could not determine the location. So he shook his head and smiled. Since he's already here, what's there to be afraid of? Chapter 1584. The Dragon Emperor succession ceremony would be held 3 days later, so Jun Changxiao had nothing to do. He brought rows of flowers around Dragon City to experience the different local customs. During this period, the dragon race did not send anyone over. The 3 ministers and 9 ministers were very unhappy. We came with generous gifts to congratulate you, but your high priest did not come over personally to receive us. Who are you looking down on? Patriarch. The Grand Tutor said angrily. The dragon race has neglected the stone statue race so much. Why are you being so cold? There's no rush. Jun Changxiao took a sip of tea and said calmly, after all, they have to hold the succession ceremony. It's understandable that they don't have time to receive us. Since the patriarch had said so, the 3 ministers and 9 ministers could only suppress their anger and continue to wait. After waiting for another day, the high priest still did not appear. Even the 4 dragon kings did not appear. What is this? We shouldn't have come to the dragon domain in the first place. In private, the upper echelons of the stone statue race were furious. In terms of overall strength, our race is not weaker than your dragon race. In the end, we were treated so coldly. Is this how you treat guests? Just as the 3 ministers and 9 ministers were extremely emotional, the dragon race's high priest finally arrived at the residence. As soon as he walked into the hall, he blamed himself and said, I was busy with work and neglected everyone. Please forgive me. The Grand Tutor and the others were displeased. You still know to come. The high priest was a little embarrassed. In order to ease the atmosphere, he looked at Jun Changxiao and said, this little friend has an impressive appearance and looks like a jade tree in the wind. You should be the new patriarch of the stone statue clan, right? The dragon race knew about the change of patriarch of the stone statue race after Go Sheng came over. That's right, Jun Changxiao said. Heroes come from young. As the saying goes, One does not hit a smiling person. Since he was so polite, the 3 ministers and 9 ministers could not find fault with him no matter how unhappy they were. High Priest. Jun Changshao asked, "Does the Dragon Emperor have time? I would like to meet him." He had initially planned to give little Long Long a surprise when he became the next Dragon Emperor. But now that he was in Dragon City, the longing in his heart was growing stronger and stronger, and he couldn't control himself at all. The High Priest said apologetically, "The succession of the Dragon Emperor is imminent. It's not convenient for me to receive guests." These words made the 3 dukes and 9 ministers unhappy. "Our patriarch is already giving us a lot of face by attending the ceremony. How dare you put on airs?" "All right." Jun Changshao expressed his understanding. After all, he was quite busy when he took over as the patriarch, so he understood Little Dragon's current situation. After a brief exchange, the High Priestess took her leave. Gongsun Ruoli walked in from the backyard and said, "This High Priest doesn't look right." "What's wrong?" "I can't say." 2 days later, the Dragon Emperor enthronement ceremony began. Unlike the Stone Statue clan, the ascension of the Dragon clan's leader was held in the clan hall. Jun Changshao led everyone to rush over and deliver congratulatory gifts. When the Dragon clan reported these gifts one by one, all of the Dragon clan martial artists were shocked. This was because the congratulatory gifts were far too generous. There was a need to pay attention to the gifts. It was rare to see someone as generous as Go Sheng. Fortunately, the Dragon Emperor enthronement ceremony did not invite the major forces of the upper realm. Otherwise, if they gave 1,000 and he gave 100,000, it would be a slap to everyone's face. "Patriarch Gongsun, please." With more gifts, the treatment given by the Dragon clan was immediately different. They were directly arranged to sit at the front, only 2 to 3 meters away from the Dragon Emperor's throne. "Little Dragon." Jun Changshao sat down and thought, "I'm here to witness your enthronement as the Dragon Emperor." Enthronement Hall. At this moment the High Priest shouted, "It begins now!" Swish, swish. The Dragon clan martial artists gathered in the hall stood up one after another, with a solemn expression on their faces. "Dragon Emperor, please ascend to the throne." Under the solemn atmosphere, the side door of the hall slowly opened. "It's here." Gosheng smiled. Stomp, stomp. Heavy footsteps sounded, and a figure in a gold-trimmed robe walked over, surrounded by Dragon clan martial artists. The smile on Jun Changshao's face gradually froze. The one who walked out was not Little Dragon, but a middle-aged man with a square face. Jun Changshao had seen him before. Back when the various clans came to the Sect of all times, he had appeared. According to his master, he seemed to be called Qing Ming Dragon King. No, the main character should not have appeared yet. Jun Changshao stood up and looked deep into the side door. But it was closed. No one. The plot was not right. Stomp. At this moment, the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes stopped in front of the Dragon Emperor's throne, and a powerful aura instantly appeared around him. "It's really him." Gongsun Ruoli's tone was not surprised. Among the 4 Dragon Kings, Qing Ming Dragon King was the strongest. It was only natural for him to succeed the Dragon Emperor's throne. Jun Changshao was stunned. Why was this guy standing in front of the Dragon Emperor's throne? Was there another procedure to be completed? Little Dragon was the last to appear? "High Priest," Qing Ming Dragon King said, "announce it." "Yes." The High Priest turned around and faced the Dragon Race martial artists. He said loudly, "As the Dragon Race's High Priest, I officially announce that the Dragon Emperor's throne will be inherited by Qing Ming Dragon King. Do you all agree?" "Agree. Agree." Everyone lowered their heads and placed their hands on their chest. Qing Ming Dragon King smiled as he placed his hands on the dragon throne and sat down. "I don't agree." Suddenly, a discordant voice sounded in the hall. "Jie." Qing Ming Dragon King's body stiffened. He looked at the source of the voice with a black face and immediately locked onto Jun Changshao. He said in shock, "It's you." "Shua." Jun Changshao jumped up and stood on the throne. He said angrily, "You are not a 5-clawed dragon. What qualifications do you have to sit on the Dragon Emperor's throne?" Gongsun Ruoli was stunned. The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers were dumbfounded. Although they were unhappy with the dragon race's neglect in the past few days, they couldn't say anything because of the relationship. Now that the patriarch was publicly opposing the new dragon emperor, he was roaring at the new dragon emperor. This was going to be big. As expected, all the dragon race experts present were unhappy. An old man stood up and said angrily, "Presumptuous. Shua, shua, shua." All the dragon race experts looked at Jun Changxiao. Their eyes were filled with anger. Boom! Gongsun Ruoli stood up and smashed the table in front of her. Her beautiful eyes were filled with coldness. "What do you want?" The former patriarch was so domineering, but there was still room for negotiation. But after she smashed the table, the direction of the situation was out of control. "Shouldn't we be the ones asking this question?" The high priest said in a deep voice. "We invited you here as guests, but you opposed the dragon emperor during the sacred succession ceremony. You were even rude to the dragon emperor. No matter what, we were in the right." At this moment, the atmosphere in the hall was extremely solemn. All the dragon race experts glared at Jun Changxiao. Gongsun Ruoli, the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers stood up. They looked like they were not afraid. Cough. At this time, the Qingming Dragon King raised his butt and signaled his clansmen to sit down. He said with a smile, "I didn't expect Jun Patriarch to participate in the succession ceremony. This emperor is a little surprised." Jun Changxiao said with a cold face, "Where is the little dragon?" The dragon emperor was not his contracted beast. There must be something going on. Jun Patriarch. The Qingming Dragon King smiled. This emperor respects the will of the people and accepts doubts, even if you are an outsider. So, today, I will let you see if you are qualified to sit on the dragon emperor's throne. He raised his head with a ferocious expression. Huff, 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 huff. In an instant, dragon chi gathered around and 5 dragon claws gradually appeared. Gongsun Ruoli said, "It is indeed a 5-clawed dragon." The 5-clawed dragon in the dragon race didn't have 5 fingers or toes like humans. Instead, it had 5 limbs. Now that the Qingming Dragon King showed it, it was enough to prove that it was a genuine 5-clawed dragon. It was qualified to inherit the Dragon Emperor's throne. Our emperor will exist forever. Our emperor will exist forever. The dragon race experts knelt on the ground and cheered. However, in front of irrefutable evidence, Jun Changxiao's eyes gradually emitted a monstrous killing intent. There was only one 5-clawed dragon in the dragon race. Since the Qingming Dragon King was the 5-clawed dragon, it meant that the little dragon was gone. Or, it was snatched away by him. Huff. In an instant, a torrential chi wave enveloped Jun Changxiao. When everything dissipated, the great sage Set was draped over his body, and the 4th form hard-to-retract blade was in his hand. He spoke like an emotionless death god. "This daddy will give you 15 minutes. If you don't see the little dragon, the entire dragon race will be annihilated." Chapter 1585. Jun Changxiao had always believed that little dragon was the successor of the dragon emperor, so he prepared a generous gift to congratulate him. In the end, it was some bullshit dragon king ascending the throne. He definitely couldn't accept it. In fact, it didn't matter who was the dragon emperor. Gosheng wasn't the kind of super bully who had to let his contract beast be the dragon emperor. But the problem wasn't the dragon emperor only a 5-clawed dragon qualified to be the dragon emperor? Since little dragon had it, it should naturally sit on it. If others meddled, it would be a seizure of power. Thinking of Gongsun Ruoli saying that the 4 dragon kings had been fighting for a long time, Jun Changxiao's IQ finally came online. He guessed that his contract beast was controlled and forced to hand over the dragon emperor position. These weren't enough to make him furious. What really touched his bottom line was that Qingming Dragon King had transformed into 5 claws, proving that he was absolutely qualified. Jun Changxiao didn't believe that the dragon clan would have a second 5-clawed dragon, because if there was, they wouldn't have waited for so many years and wouldn't have gone to the Sect of all times to pick up little dragon. Back to the key point. Why did Qingming Dragon King have 5 claws? Thinking of how the demon ancestor's Saint Devil body could be intercepted by Yao Menjing, Little Dragon's Dragon Emperor body seemed to be snatched away. This meant that not only was his contract beast controlled, but it was also in a very dangerous situation. Dragons had reverse scales, and those who touched them would die. Although Jun Changxiao wasn't from the Dragon Clan, he had many reverse scales. Sect of all times' 100,000 disciples and higher-ups, and even Aunt Wang who ran the inn in Ironbone Town were his reverse scales. Whoever dared to touch them, whoever dared to hurt them, he wouldn't rest until he was dead. The great sage Sect, the blade that was hard to withdraw, he showed them all. Letting the Dragon Clan hand over Little Dragon in a quarter of an hour was Jun Changxiao's attitude. It was believed that when Gosheng exploded, no readers would think that this was because of the mission, because everyone knew that he was extremely protective. Husband. Rose of Flowers walked over from behind and gently leaned her face on his back. I'll help you. Because she understood. So there was no need to say more. Xiao. Green light spread, and the two merged into one. Gradually, Jun Changxiao's eyebrows and eyelashes turned a grassy green, and he once again turned into a rose. This. Gongsun Ruoli's expression gradually became stunned. In that moment Jun Changxiao, who held the death god scythe in his hand, not only did his aura become stronger, but he also emitted the power of space. It was as if he had become a completely different person. The 3 dukes and 9 ministers were stunned. The patriarch's current aura was several times stronger than when he fought all the warriors on the training field. No, it was at least 10 times stronger. Of course. After completing the epic quest 6, Jun Changxiao entered the truth-seeking realm. His strength had been greatly improved. Now that he had used all kinds of trump cards and had the support of gold, his combat power was incomparable. Brat, Qingming Dragon King, who had a friendly look on his face, said in a gloomy tone, I'm magnanimous and I've been patient. Don't push your luck. Who? The experts of the Dragon Clan unleashed their cultivation at the same time, and the anger in their eyes grew even stronger. Stirring up trouble at this critical juncture was intolerable. Inside the clan hall, the intense killing intent was replaced by a state of mutual hostility. Even if they were to fight now, there was nothing to be surprised about. The 3 dukes and 9 ministers did not cower. They stood in front of Jun Changxiao, forming layers of protection. However, they were roaring in their hearts. What the hell is going on? Because Jun Changxiao wanted to show off, he did not tell them about the little dragon. Now that the situation had developed to this stage, the higher-ups of the Stone Statue clan were all puzzled. Everyone, Qingming Dragon King said in a low voice. You want to protect this guy? Dragon Emperor. The high priest hurriedly sent a telepathic message. This guy is the new patriarch of the Stone Statue clan, Gongsun Ruoli's son. What? Qingming Dragon King's eyes widened. He was still wondering why the patriarch of the sect of all times was here since he did not invite any upper domain forces. Now that he heard from his subordinate, he understood that the patriarch represented the Stone Statue clan. That's not right. Isn't this guy Jinren Tonggu's disciple? Since when is he related to the Stone Statue clan? And he's the patriarch of the Stone Statue clan. The Dragon clan might be stronger than the Stone Statue clan in terms of overall strength, but the gap was not that big. Therefore, in terms of status, the Dragon Emperor and the patriarch were on the same level. I'll say it again. Lord Rose, who had used all kinds of trump cards and was holding the 4th form hard-to-retract blade, said in a mixed male and female voice, I'll give you 15 minutes. If you don't see the little dragon, the entire Dragon clan will be destroyed. How dare you destroy the entire clan in the Dragon clan's territory? Even the big shots of the 10 major immortal sects would not dare to say such arrogant words. Did you hear that? Gongsun Ruoli said coldly. Bring him here now. Whoosh, whoosh. She fully unleashed her peak truth-seeking realm cultivation, forming a huge pressure that enveloped the entire clan hall. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, the tables and chairs could not bear the pressure and instantly cracked. The son was showing off, and the father was showing off. It was like fighting a tiger with brothers, father and son going into battle. Gongsun Ruoli. Qingming Dragon King suppressed his anger and said with a gloomy look, "Are you declaring war on the Dragon Clan? How dare you make my son unhappy?" Gongsun Ruoli said coldly, "So what if I declare war on the Dragon Clan?" The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers were about to cry. "My dear patriarch, you're a bit reckless. If it was just a fight, it would be fine. But if it escalated to a war, the problem would be much more serious. Hurry up." Jun Changsha roared, "Bring him here. Otherwise, don't blame me for starting a massacre in the dragon field." All right. The father and son were going all out. What should they do? What else could they do? They definitely had no reason to support the patriarch and patriarch. Whoosh! The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers all unleashed their cultivation. At this moment, they finally realized why the patriarch had brought so many top forces of the sect. His real purpose was to fight. He was really good at keeping them in suspense. In all honesty, Jun Changshao had brought so many people to the dragon field to support them. He even wanted to give little Long Long a surprise. In the end, the surprise was not given. Instead, it turned into a war between the 2 clans. Good. Qingming Dragon King was furious. Let's go out and fight. The guests they invited actually wanted to cause trouble. As the host, he definitely could not tolerate it. So no matter what, he had to teach the Stone Statue clan a lesson. East Sea. Ryu Sinan squatted on a rock by the sea as if he was constipated. "Brother." Bai Rakshasa was about to cry. "Is the dragon field here or not?" "Don't panic." Ryu Sinan rubbed his temples hard and thought hard. "Let me think about it carefully. You've been thinking for 4 hours. Ah. Ryu Sinan stood up and roared. "Why did you make me lead the way? Why didn't you just find 2 dragons to lead the way?" Gah! The moment he said that, the upper echelons of the sect were all dumbfounded. That's right. Why did we ask him to lead the way instead of 2 ready-made dragon field martial artists? They could not be blamed for being stupid, nor could they blame the author for being careless. It was just that the situation was a little too urgent at the time. They did not have time to think. Ryu Sinan took the initiative to suggest leading the way, so they followed in a daze. Once bitten, twice shy. The heavens and earth were the witnesses. If anyone asked Elder Lu to lead the way in the future, the former sect master would write his surname backward. "I'll go back to the sect and bring them back." Just as Black Rakshasa was about to take off, a purple stream of light suddenly appeared in the distance. Then, it landed on the beach like a cannonball, instantly stirring up clouds of dust. I haven't been a big brother for many years. I don't like cold bedsides. Don't force me to miss you. Don't force me to cry. I'll fall out with you. With the background music, a handsome man with long flowing hair walked over, carrying the Dragonfield Tung Fei brothers on his left and right shoulders. "Hall Master Z!" everyone exclaimed in unison. Swoosh! Swoosh! The Purple King threw the 2 dragons on the ground, clapped his hands and said, "Hall Master Wei was worried that Elder Lu was unreliable, so he asked me to bring them here." His aura and tone. It was as if an earth-shattering change had occurred. Everyone was overjoyed, but when they looked down at the Tung Fei brothers, they saw that they were foaming at the mouth, and their eyelids were rolled back. It was obvious that they had fainted. Good gift. Wonderful gift. What a great gift. Chapter 1586. Forbidden Area of the Palace, outside the training field. Led by Jun Changshao, the Stone Statue Clan's experts huddled together. Thousands of Dragon Clan's martial artists had gathered from all directions. This was the Dragon Field, their territory. Since they were here to cause trouble, they had to be prepared to be beaten up. Fortunately, Jun Changshao had used all his trump cards. With the Death God's scythe on his shoulder, the space attribute around him was extremely powerful. Although they were outnumbered, their aura was not weak. Not to mention there was also Gongsun Ruoli, this kind of top expert who was half a step into the divine secret realm. Although he only had the aura of the peak of the truth-seeking realm now, who knew how terrifying his power would be in a real battle? Qingming Dragon King said coldly, "I invited you all to the ceremony out of goodwill, but you just had to cause trouble. You've gone too far. He was very annoyed. He was about to ascend the throne, but the guests had ruined it. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have invited them. At this moment, Qingming Dragon King still didn't realize how serious the situation was. To be exact, he didn't know how protective Go Sheng was. There's not much time left. Jun Changshao looked at the exquisite soil and said, I won't see the little dragon again. He glanced at the surrounding dragon clan's martial artists and said with killing intent, they'll all die. At this moment, he didn't care if his contracted beast could become the dragon emperor. He only cared about its safety. If anything happened, the dragon field would really become hell. The patriarch of the sect of all times, and the leader of the stone statue clan, Gongsun Junrose, would definitely do what she said. At this moment, Qingming Dragon King waved his hand, and a vast amount of dragon chi gathered, turning into a roaring dragon. He said angrily, I'll kill you first. No one would be able to tolerate such arrogant words in their own territory, so it was inevitable that they would attack. Qingming Dragon King's strength was not inferior to Jinren Tonggu's. In fact, he was even slightly stronger. His every move shook the space and created layers of energy ripples. Crack, 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 crack. Jun Changshao frowned. The roaring dragon emitted an extremely powerful pressure. After all, the Azure Abyss Dragon King was one of the most powerful beings of the dragon race. Even if Zhang Xian were to use all of his trump cards, he still wouldn't be able to match up to the other party. However, Jun Chang stood proudly with a smile on his face. He didn't panic because boom! Gongsun Ruoli shifted her body, just as the vast dragon's aura was about to descend upon her. Her right palm vibrated in the air, and a soft yet firm power met it head-on. It collided with the roaring dragon, and a deafening boom instantly rang out. Dang dang dang. Qingming Dragon King took a few steps back as his eyes were filled with disbelief. The aura this woman exuded was about the same as his, so why was it that the power she unleashed when she attacked was even stronger? Could it be? He didn't have time to think about it, because Gongsun Ruoli had rushed over with a mysterious movement technique. Swoosh, whoosh. The sky was filled with afterimages, making it difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. My son, Gongsun Ruoli said, this is the Stone Statue Clan's unique martial art, the Heavenly Shadow Phantom Steps. Watch your father use it carefully. It will help you comprehend it in the future. Qingming Dragon King was on the verge of collapse as he dodged. How much did this woman look down on him to teach her son martial arts in the middle of a battle? Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up. In terms of movement techniques, he had once practiced the ethereal 7 sages, but it was obviously far inferior to the Stone Statue Clan's movement technique. Not in the future. He had to learn it now. Without hesitation, Jun Changxiao crushed an upper realm version of the Insight Talisman and instantly transformed into a martial arts master. He relied on his spiritual thoughts and eyes to capture every step and repeated them in his mind. Seeing her son so focused, Gongsun Ruoli was very pleased. Then, she deliberately slowed down her movements so that he could clearly see how she used the Heavenly Shadow Phantom Steps in battle. Feeling humiliated, Qingming Dragon King immediately roared. A vast dragon's aura burst out and gathered in his palms. He changed from passive evasion to active attack, and instantly started fighting with the woman. Boom boom boom. Boom 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 boom. In an instant, the power of the stone statue and the dragon's aura exploded outside the clan hall. As the combatants were all at the peak of the truth-seeking realm, the special effects were at the peak, and the visual impact was great. The surrounding Dragon Clan martial artists did not stay idle. When Qingming Dragon King and Gongsun Ruoli started fighting, they all unleashed their cultivation to suppress them. Judging from the anger in their eyes, they were going to teach the Stone Statue Clan a lesson. Whoosh, whoosh. The dragon's aura whizzed over with great momentum. Protect the clan leader. The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers all gathered around Jun Changshao and formed an iron wall. Each of them performed the martial arts of the Stone Statue Clan, gathering dazzling light and blasting it out. Although the Dragon Clan had the advantage in numbers, the Stone Statue Clan's upper echelons were quite powerful. If they really fought, they might not be able to gain the upper hand. Buzz! Buzz! At the same time, outside the huge martial arts arena, layers of flowing light arrays appeared and completely enveloped the ancient clan hall and buildings. Go! Go! Seeing that the nearby buildings were protected by arrays, the Dragon Clan's powerhouses became unscrupulous. Come to make trouble? Then let's beat them to death. The Dragon Clan was well known for their belligerence. Boom! Boom! On the extremely historical martial arts arena, the unique energy of the two clans exploded and wreaked havoc in the space. The various forces in the upper world would never have thought that on this seemingly ordinary day, the upper echelons of the Stone Statue Clan and the Dragon Clan would actually fight. It had even evolved to the point of pulling hair and spitting saliva. However, no matter how the two clans fought, Jun Changshao remained unmoved. He stood on the martial arts arena, as if he was detached from the world. It was as if he had directly disconnected from the game when the team battle started. Fortunately, it was not a solo match, and no one wanted to participate in the advancement match. Otherwise, there would definitely be a wave of complaints. Swish! Swish! Gongsun Ruoli performed the Heavenly Shadow Phantom steps to the extreme. Her original intention was to let her son comprehend it. Therefore, she had been exhausting the Qingming Dragon King. Although the battle looked intense, it was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. Jun Changshao stood on the spot, and the movement technique in his sea of consciousness was constantly evolving. Understood. Understood. After a while, his lips curled up into a smile. Kill. Kill. At this moment, more Dragon Clan's martial artists rushed in from outside the palace. Their eyes were locked on Jun Changshao as they gathered all kinds of energy and blasted it over. Protect the chief. The Grand Preceptor roared. However, at this moment, they were all being held back by the Dragon Clan's powerhouses, so they couldn't divert their attention to help their clan leader neutralize the various energies that were attacking them. Boom! Jun Changshao put down the Death God scythe and placed the blade on the ground. He muttered, "A quarter of an hour has passed, and you still haven't handed over the little dragon." So, Shwa! The fourth form of hard-to-retract blade suddenly swung, and the vast power of space spread out in all directions. The various draconic might that came from behind instantly froze in midair. What? He's being controlled. How is this possible? The Dragon Clan martial artists who had rushed up were dumbfounded. Shwa! Shwa! The saber light was like a shadow crisscrossing. Plop! Plop! As soon as he finished speaking, hundreds of Dragon Clan martial artists fell to the ground. Fine blade marks appeared on their necks. The moment they felt the pain, their minds were completely disconnected. The 3 dukes and 9 ministers were stunned. They were not shocked by the fact that their clan leader had killed so many Dragon Clan martial artists in an instant, but by the Heavenly Shadow charming steps that had rushed over just now. Gongsun Ruoli said in disbelief. He learned it just like that. He learned it. He was very familiar with it. Chapter 1587. Jun Changshao had not only learned the Heaven Shadow charming steps in a short time, but he had also learned it thoroughly. It could be said that as long as it wasn't a systematic martial technique, as long as it met the cultivation requirements, Go Sheng would be able to learn any martial technique easily. If he couldn't do it, it meant that the insight talisman wasn't high enough. Of course, it couldn't be said that he was invincible. The reason why he was able to master the Heaven Shadow charming steps was because Gongsun Ruoli had purposely taught it to him. If it was an outsider, Jun Changshao wouldn't be able to learn it even if he dug his eyes out. Unbelievable. Patriarch is too godly. The 3 ducal ministers and 9 ministers worshipped Jun Changshao like a torrential river. They were sure that their patriarch had been wandering outside and had never come into contact with the stone statue race's martial techniques. Even if the old patriarch had taught him a movement technique, it was impossible for him to master it in such a short time. What did this mean? His innate talent was extraordinary, an unparalleled genius. Under his leadership, our race would definitely achieve greater glory. Ho ho! Oh! In an instant, the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers burst forth with even higher cultivation and started fighting with the dragon race experts. For the patriarch for the future, even if they had to die in Dragon City today, they couldn't let him get hurt. My son, Gongsun Ruoli forced Qingming Dragon King back and said, Father will teach you a few more moves. Since he had learned the Heaven Shadow Charming steps, there was no harm in teaching others. Space-breaking stone chop, mountain-splitting sacred palm, 4 symbols dark cloud art. All sorts of stone statue race martial techniques were executed by Gongsun Ruoli. Light rays and palm prints shrouded the entire training ground, emitting a terrifying aura. When top experts fought, they would usually follow the steps. For example, one move after another, interspersed with the introduction of the power and the shock of the passers-by. Gongsun Ruoli directly used all sorts of trump cards and didn't follow the rules at all. Qingming Dragon King could only deal with it tirelessly and was even in a more difficult situation. Shua. Jun Changshao brandished his scythe and used the power of space to bind the dragon race martial artists that were rushing in from outside the palace. As he studied, he used all kinds of martial arts of the stone statue race. It could be said that he had mastered all kinds of martial arts of the stone statue race at his fingertips. Of course, because the other parties still refused to hand over the little dragon, Gosheng no longer showed any mercy. While learning martial skills, he mercilessly took away one dragon clan cultivator after another. In a short period of time, there were already over 1,000 corpses outside the training field. Ah! Qingming Dragon King roared madly. These dragon clan martial artists were all carefully nurtured by him. Not to mention 1,000 of them dying. Even the death of a single one would cause him pain. Jun Changshao. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he roared. This emperor will tear you to pieces. Roar! The dragon's roar shook the heavens and earth. Shua. Gongsun Ruoli retreated several dozen feet, her brows tightly knitted together. Up in the sky, the Green Abyss Dragon King summoned his true form, which turned into a giant green dragon that was coiling around in a dragon ball. His scales shone brightly, and his 5 claws gathered an extremely powerful dragon aura. This is a little tricky. The smile on Gongsun Ruoli's face did not match her words at all. As far as she knew, the Green Abyss Dragon King's true form was the rare Green Abyss Holy Dragon of the Dragon Clan. Now that he had inherited the Dragon Emperor's body, his strength would definitely increase. This was not the main point. The main point was that when the other party transformed into his true form and let out a roar similar to the Dragon Emperor, the entire Dragon City was infected. They all transformed into their true forms of various colors and charged towards the Dragon Palace with bloodshot eyes. For a moment, the entire sky above the city was filled with dragons. Roar! Roar! The upper echelons of the Dragon Clan, who were fighting with the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers, were also infected. They all activated their true forms, and huge dragons gathered in the sky above the training field. Breathing in and out, the dragon aura was vast and mighty. Strictly speaking, the Dragon Clan could also be classified as demonic beasts. Therefore, after transforming into their true forms, their combat strength increased tremendously. Shua. Jun Changshao carried the death god scythe, and flames shrouded his feet. It was as though he was stepping on wind and fire wheels as he flew up. He faced the huge dragons and said coldly, "Today, I will pull out your dragon tendons and smash your dragon palace." Hardcore Neza cosplay. Die. At this moment, Qingming Dragon King opened his bloody mouth and spat out a beam of dragon aura. It went straight for Gosheng's bald head. Gongsun Ruoli blocked it first. Not only did her tender right hand quickly petrified, layers of power gathered in her fist, and with an extremely domineering method, she dispersed the beam of light. She said coldly, "You want my son to die? You don't have the ability." Damn! Jun Changshao's eyes widened. That woman's right hand not only petrified, but also gradually turned black. It felt like she had activated armament hockey. "My son," Gongsun Ruoli explained, "this is the 3rd form of my stone statue clan's bloodline. It can precisely control the petrified parts and gather enough power to achieve the ultimate explosion. So that's how it is. Jun Changshao suddenly realized that Gong Sun Ho was half normal and half petrified. It should be the second form of the Stone Statue clan's bloodline. Our clan's bloodline form does not have a limit, Gong Sun Ruoli said. As your father, I hope that one day, you can comprehend the fourth, fifth, or even higher. Previously, when he passed the position to Jun Changshao, he was anxious to unburden himself and go out to find the heartless man. Now that he had learned the Stone Statue clan's martial arts in such a short time, he was full of expectations for his son's future. Go Sheng's mouth twitched. The bloodline was inherited carelessly. Successfully awakening it was really lucky. It was hard to say whether or not he could comprehend the second form in the future. I will definitely do it. Although he was not confident, he had to make a statement at this time. Huff, huff. The 3 ministers and 9 ministers did not hide anymore, and activated the Stone Statue clan's bloodline. They had not reached the old patriarch's level, and could only activate the second form, becoming half human and half petrified. Infected, Jun Changxiao's blood boiled, and his cold face gradually petrified. Trump card. Another one lit up. Come. Jun Changxiao waved the Grim Reaper scythe and said, fight. From afar, the dragon beasts gathered in the sky above the dragon palace, and the Stone Statue clan's patriarch and upper echelons activated their bloodlines. It was a shocking scene. Kill! Kill! Summoned by the Dragon Emperor Constitution, the dragon beasts swarmed in from outside the palace. The originally spacious space suddenly became abnormally crowded. All of you die. Jun Changxiao waved his scythe, and the scythe pierced through the sky. As the power of space spread wildly, the dragon race martial artists who rushed over were all frozen and cut into pieces. Blood and limbs scattered all over the ground. A massacre had officially begun. In the deepest part of the East Sea, the Purple King stood in place with a serious expression. As the sect of all times came too quickly, 2 dragon race martial artists could not withstand it and fainted. So, they could only find the entrance themselves. Hall Master Z, Jiangye said weakly, are you reliable? As Ryu Sinan led the wrong way, the upper echelons of the sect felt a little guilty. After all, in terms of abnormalities in the sect, Yi Xingchen's sect was the first, and his sect was the second. Moreover, Big Brother, wasn't it just finding the entrance? Why did he have to take off his school uniform? Listen carefully. The purple craggy monster king put his clothes back into his spatial ring, leaving only his red underpants on. He turned his extremely serious face around and said, this hall master has snuck into the dragon domain to steal a dragon egg. No one is allowed to question this. Whoosh. After saying that, he transformed into purple sky and swung his tail across the void. Energy ripples rippled, and a thin crack gradually appeared. Damn! Everyone was stunned. The 2 space-time worms were not around, or they would worship him on the spot. Crack! Crack! The space gradually cracked and expanded. When it reached a certain level, the purple craggy monster king roared. Return to the void! Whoosh! 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 The powerful Kuan's power erupted wildly. Not only did it cover Ding Xingwang and the rest, but it also covered the 3,000 mechas and the 200,000 devil army. It was as if they were wearing a layer of invisibility cloak. All of you listen up. Once you enter, you will be in the Dragon City. Once you are discovered, your life and death will be in the hands of fate. The Purple King knew that readers had always wondered how he could sneak into the dragon domain to steal a dragon egg with his weak cultivation. Today, not only would he use his actions to prove it, but he would also go straight to the center of the dragon race. Demon King, not to be humiliated. Chapter 1588. Boom! Boom! Inside the Dragon City Palace, all kinds of energy and special effects were unleashed. Even though many buildings were protected by arrays, they were still shaken to the core. The higher-ups of the Stone Statue clan activated their bloodline, while the higher-ups of the Dragon clan activated their true forms. This level of battle was really intense. It was even comparable to the battle between the 10 great immortal sects' demonic war ancestor 100,000 years ago. Of course, because they were in the Dragon City, no one outside knew about this internal battle. Roar! Roar! High up in the sky, the dragon aura shot down like cannonballs. Qingming Dragon King, who had transformed into his true form, was getting angrier and angrier. However, he could not do anything to Gongsun Ruoli. He was even certain that this woman must have reached the third step. In the sky, the higher-ups of the two clans were fighting to the death. Low in the sky, the strong smell of blood drifted. Jun Changshao held the death god scythe in his hand and swept away the dragon beasts. Broken limbs, scales, tendons, and whiskers were scattered all over the ground. The scene was comparable to a slaughterhouse. In terms of strength, he could not do anything to Qingming Dragon King and the higher-ups of the Dragon Clan. However, with all kinds of trump cards and hard-to-retract blade, it was not a problem to deal with the small fries outside the palace. Ever since the extraterritorial battlefield, Jun Changshao rarely went on a killing spree. This time, because little Longlong's life was uncertain, he was really in a berserk state. There is a need to remind the host. The system said, there are at least a few 100,000 Dragon Clan martial artists in Dragon City. You alone may not be able to deal with all of them. I don't care. Jun Changshao's eyes were red. I will kill whoever comes. The system was speechless. What I mean is that hard-to-retract blade has a time limit. If you can't deal with them, you will be dealt with by them. Although the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers, and the hundreds of stone statue clan elites were strong, they were still in the enemy's territory. If they were to fight a protracted battle, they would definitely be exhausted to death. Jun Changshao realized this problem, and felt rather vexed. If he had known, he would have gone to the sect of all times and summoned the Dark Destruction God and the Million Devil Army. Oh. At this moment, more Dragon Clan martial artists rushed over. Jun Changshao didn't have time to think about it. He waved the Death God's scythe again, erupting with the power of space and mercilessly harvesting the dragon beasts. As long as the dragons had any intelligence, they would realize that Go Sheng was in a strong period and had to avoid him. However, they still pounced on him like moths. Other than the Blue Abyss Dragon King's henchmen, most of the dragon race martial artists couldn't control themselves. They were all under the control of the Dragon Emperor's aura. They only had one thought in their mind, and that was to kill the stone statue race. Die! Die! Wherever the sickle passed, blood splattered. Jun Changshao didn't care if they were being controlled or not. Anyone who tried to invade would die under his blade. At this critical juncture, if he still cared about his morals and benevolence, then he would be the one to die. However, more and more dragon race martial artists poured into the Dragon Palace, under the summons of the Dragon Monarch. Even though Jun Changshao was constantly harvesting, the number of martial artists still increased. And this was just Dragon City. As the draconic might continued to spread, the clansmen of the other cities would definitely attack. The Blue Abyss Dragon King spat out several powerful light beams and roared, "All of you must die!" At this point, he wouldn't let the stone statue race go. He definitely wouldn't let Jun Changshao go. Therefore, he crazily released his draconic might and summoned his clansmen to join the battle. "You don't care about the lives of your clansmen," Jun Changshao coldly said. "Even if you have the Dragon Emperor's body, you are not fit to be the Dragon Emperor. Whether I am fit to be the Dragon Emperor or not, it is not up to an outsider like you to decide." The Blue Abyss Dragon King opened his mouth and spat out dozens of draconic might cannonballs. Half of them were aimed at Gongsun Ruoli, and the other half were aimed at Go Sheng. He had been eyeing the Dragon Emperor's throne for tens of thousands of years. Today, he was finally going to ascend the throne. Therefore, anyone who doubted him must die. The temptation of power. It made the Blue Abyss Dragon King enter a state of madness. Boom! 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 Gongsun Ruoli neutralized the cannonball that was aimed at her. Then, she blocked the other half of the cannonball and neutralized it. She coldly said, "The Dragon Emperor's body that was stolen is not legitimate even if you sit on the Dragon Emperor's throne." She didn't know the exact situation, but she could roughly guess one or two things. combined with the dragon clan's cold treatment and the high priest's strange behavior, this Blue Abyss Dragon King might have stolen the Dragon Emperor's body and then controlled the Dragon Clan's upper echelons. What made Gongsun Ruoli even more sure of her guess was that, for such a big matter like the Dragon Emperor's succession, why didn't the other 3 Dragon Kings come? There were 2 possibilities. Either they were controlled by the Blue Abyss Dragon King, or they had been eliminated. Jun Changshao also thought of it. He didn't care about the life and death of the 3 Dragon Kings. He only cared about little Long Long. My contracted beast met with misfortune. Your entire dragon clan will be buried with it. Page was his first contracted beast, but in terms of weight in his heart, little Long Long was obviously higher. After all, they first communicated with words. Although they were master and servant, they were more like brothers. Die! Jun Changshao's eyes were red from killing. He waved the death god scythe crazily. Streaks of blade aura that tore through space mercilessly reaped the lives of the Dragon Clan martial artists. A pity. As time passed, more and more Dragon Clan members came from other cities. The system said, the effect of hard-to-retract blade is still 20 minutes. Host can't kill all of them. Quickly retreat. I'm leaving. Jun Changshao shouted angrily. Who will avenge little Long Long? The system was speechless. I know you can transform into a physical body, and I know your strength is unfathomable. After I can't fight, can you appear and help me destroy the entire Dragon Clan? Even if you have to pay a painful price. Jun Changshao said resolutely in his heart. The system said, for a contracted beast, is it worth it? Jun Changshao's thoughts drifted back to the past, back to the egg that he had spent a large amount of crystal cores to mutate, and then watched it hatch with his own eyes, as well as the first time he experienced flying after awakening his first form. The corner of his mouth gradually raised into a smile. It's worth it. It's hard for me to understand human emotions. However, the system paused for a moment, then said, since you are so desperate, I will help. Buzz. Suddenly, there was a fluctuation in the sky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In a moment, hundreds of martial artists wearing the same uniform appeared out of thin air. Behind them, 3,000 pitch-black mechs gradually appeared. Around them, hundreds of thousands of well-equipped soldiers gradually gathered, and an incomparably huge Kuan. Jie. The experts of the 2 clans in the fierce battle were dumbfounded. Suddenly, there were uninvited guests. Anyone would subconsciously have a puzzled expression on their face. The Purple King, who had just secretly brought everyone into Dragon City, discovered that the densely packed Dragon Clan members below him had transformed into their true forms and were staring at him. The corners of his mouth twitched as he said, the spatial fluctuations here are too great. The void retreat has lost its effect. Patriarch! Yao Minjing exclaimed. Patriarch my ass! Hall Master Z said in despair. Hurry up and run! Just as he was about to escape, a familiar and astonished voice came from below. Why are you all here? Jie. The Purple King was stunned and hurriedly looked down. Soon, he saw the Patriarch surrounded by the densely packed Dragon Clan martial artists, and he was stunned on the spot. Big brother! Why are you here? Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others also noticed Jun Changshao, and a look of joy appeared on their faces. Patriarch! The Black Rakshasa was the calmest. He hurriedly said. The Green Abyss Dragon King of the Dragon Clan forcefully stripped Xiao Long of his Dragon Emperor body and nailed him to a dragon pillar. We are here to save him. Space. Air. It was as if everything had frozen in an instant. Ta! Jun Changshao landed on the broken training ground and lowered his head slightly. The surrounding rocks and dust gradually floated up. My son! Gongsun Ruoli was stunned. Swish! At this moment, Jun Changshao suddenly raised his head. The stone statue's skin gradually turned black, and monstrous flames appeared around him. His face was ferocious, and his veins were bulging. He roared furiously. Raise Dragon City to the ground. Chapter 1589. The reason why the higher-ups of the sect of all times rushed to Dragon City was because they heard from the soaring dragon brothers that little Long Long was not only robbed of its dragon emperor body, but also nailed to the dragon pillar. The patriarch's contracted beast was in great danger. As a member of the sect, they were duty-bound to come to its rescue. To be exact, they understood Jun Changxiao's character. Once he knew about this, he would definitely rush to Dragon City. What kind of general would lead what kind of soldiers? The patriarch wasn't in the sect, and they couldn't contact him. After a short discussion, the higher-ups of the sect of all times moved out immediately. Although the process was a little messed up, it didn't change their attitude. 2 words: reliable. However, they regretted it after arriving at Dragon City. 200,000 was too little. In such a situation, they should have deployed 1,000,000 troops. Back to Jun Changxiao. He had already guessed that little Long Long was in danger. When he heard what the Black Rakshasa said, he couldn't control his emotions anymore. It didn't matter if he lost the Dragon Emperor body, as long as his contracted beast was safe. However, he was still nailed to the dragon pillar. Pain. Heartache. Pain all over. Destroy Dragon City. Destroy Dragon City. This was the only thought in Jun Changxiao's mind. Under the cover of the flames, he seemed to have turned into a demon. Terrifying. Gongsun Ruoli thought. At this moment, Jun Changxiao's strength didn't increase, but his anger and killing intent were unprecedentedly strong. Even she, a half-step divination realm expert, was shocked. Yes. At this moment, the disciples of the sect of all times who snuck into Dragon City shouted in unison. Then they controlled the 3,000 Diablo warriors and charged down. Kill! Yao Minjing shouted. Swish! Swish! The 8 ghost generals and the 200,000 demonic race soldiers also moved. At the beginning, the battle belonged to the stone statue race and the dragon race. Now another group joined the battle. They represented the sect of all times. What's that? This was the first time Gongsun Ruoli saw a mech. She was stunned. However, when she carefully observed the 200,000 soldiers, she couldn't control her emotions and exclaimed, "Demonic race! How is that possible?" Qingming Dragon King was also shocked. The dark god of destruction was made of special ores. Although it looked huge and strange, at least it was within the scope of understanding. However, why would the demonic tribe, which had been exterminated for 100,000 years, appear again, and so many of them? Wait a minute. Qingming Dragon King and Gongsun Ruoli both noticed something at the same time and exclaimed in unison. They are all in the revolving core realm. A single revolving core realm martial artist wasn't anything to be surprised about, but 200,000 revolving core realm martial artists brought about a massive visual impact. Boom! Boom! Under the command of Zhongyi, the 3,000 Diablo warriors charged toward the large group of dragon race martial artists. Arrays and energy erupted, converging into streams of light cannonballs. Soldiers are trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single moment. After many years of silent development and research, the old Taishan mecha could finally shine. The readers who saw this scene could not help but lament. For this reason, we would rather watch the author's process of building a mecha for a few more chapters. We even hope that we can make him 200 million. Roar! Roar! In an instant, the gathered Dragon Clan martial artists were bombarded by all kinds of energy cannons, letting out sorrowful roars. And those whose strength was at the void-piercing realm were blasted into smithereens. Kill! Kill! The dragon race was not to be outdone, and instantly charged toward the mechas. ZZZZ! Right at this moment, a stream of light flew over, accompanied by the light of lightning. Poochie! Poochie! More than a dozen dragon beasts were sliced apart, and fresh blood splattered in the air. Li Qingyang held his personal divine artifact and floated in the air, his eyes flashing coldly. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a bright light burst out from behind him. Powerful! Xiao Ziji, who had transformed into a mecha, raised his steel shield and smiled. On the other side, Yi Xingchen had transformed into an unparalleled god of war. With the halberd in his hand, he jumped around in the air and swept through the dragon race martial artists. 10,000 miles ice seal. Lu Qianqian descended from the sky like a fairy. As she crossed her hands, A thin layer of icy air gushed out crazily, freezing all the dragon race martial artists that tried to approach. Many fire dragons were instantly turned into ice sculptures. Whoosh whoosh. Ryu Sinan flew over and tore the surrounding space apart, binding the dragon beasts that were spitting out energy. The sect of all times had sent many higher-ups and core disciples this time. If each of them was given a stage, a few chapters might not be enough, so it would not be described one by one. In short, it might be a little difficult to deal with a truth-seeking realm martial artist, but it was not a problem to deal with a reincarnation realm martial artist. As for the 200,000 devil army, it was needless to say, they obeyed Yao Minjing's orders and blocked the path of the dragon race martial artists outside the palace. Jun Changshao and the stone statue race's higher-ups did not have the advantage in terms of numbers. If they continued fighting, they would only be exhausted to death. However, with the arrival of the sect of all times' army, the situation was stabilized. Boom! Boom! In the sky, Gongsun Ruoli was serious. Her iron fists, which looked like they came from Judge Piltoff, flew toward Qingming Dragon King and forced him to retreat. "Father," Jun Changshao roared, "take him down." Although he had gone crazy and wanted to destroy the dragon city, he had to know the whereabouts of the little dragon as soon as possible. "Leave this long worm to me," Gongsun Ruoli said. "Hurry up and look for it." These words woke him from his daze. Now that the situation was temporarily under the control of the sect of all times and the stone statue race, he could go and look for the little dragon instead of standing there in a daze. But where would he go to look? The dragon domain was no smaller than the stone statue domain. Because of the dragon energy, he was unable to contact the little dragon. If he wanted to find it, Master Xiao Maxian, who had transformed into her true form, flapped her wings and flew over. "I can feel the aura of the little dragon. Let's go!" Jun Changshao jumped onto the back of the Demon Ridge Black Hawk. He turned into a beam of light and flew out of the Forbidden Palace, rapidly flying towards the endless mountain range in the east. Damn it! Qingming Dragon King wanted to stop them, but before he could do anything, he was struck by Gongsun Ruoli's iron fists. "Be a good boy and take a beating. Kill! Kill!" Outside the Imperial Palace, the sounds of killing shook the heavens. The 3,000 Diablo warriors were like door gods, trembling with the giant dragon beasts. One of them could even take on several of them. With the support of special ores and arrays, the mecha's defense was extremely strong. They would often charge into the group of dragon beasts and then fly out safely. Of course, the dragon race was not weak either. After a short period of adaptation, they immediately changed their strategy and slashed with their sharp claws. Ka. Several Diablo warriors were surrounded by more than a dozen dragon beasts. In the end, they were unable to break out of the encirclement. Their bodies were scratched black and blue all over. Just as their lives were about to come to an end, they instantly activated the explosive device. Boom! Boom! In an instant, small mushroom clouds appeared. The dragon race martial artists nearby could not dodge in time, and were instantly blown into pieces. Stare! In the sect of all times, several disciples of the War Cavalry Hall took several steps back, their faces filled with frustration. That's right. There were no disciples in the Diablo warriors. They were all remotely controlled. They could fight and they could also take a beating. If they couldn't withstand the explosion, then they would cause AoE damage. This was simply too shameless. For better or worse, a massive amount of resources and manpower had been invested into this research. If they didn't perform well on the battlefield, then Jun Gosheng would be heartbroken. Whoosh! East of the dragon territory, Xiao Maxian rapidly flew forwards, tears in her eyes. As a special bird, her sense of smell and perception were extremely strong. Not only could she sense the position of the little dragon beasts, but she could also feel that their auras were extremely weak, like a candle flickering in the wind. Woo! You can't die. Jun Changxiao's mood became increasingly heavy. The hand holding the death god scythe began to tremble. Several minutes later, Xiaomaxian flew over a tall mountain. In front of her was an area filled with mountains and forests. Lifelike dragon beasts were carved into these mountains, emitting a rich aura of death. It was like a dragon graveyard. Wang. Suddenly, Jun Changxiao felt as if he had been struck by a bolt of lightning. His entire body froze. From his field of vision, he could see that after passing through the tall mountains, he could see a crimson dragon beast circling around a massive stone pillar. No, it had been nailed to the pillar by some sort of sharp weapon. Its scales were gone, and the horns on its head were gone. There were long scars on its belly that resembled the belly of a fish, and drops of blood dripped down from its tail. Master! The little dragon beast lifted its eyelids with difficulty. As it cried out, its consciousness gradually faded away. There was no life left. In the mountain range, a sorrowful and helpless roar echoed out. P.S. You can think that I'm weak, but you can't stop me from shamelessly begging for votes. Chapter 1590. Woo woo woo. Xiaomaxian wept in her human form. After the little dragon was taken away, she often bullied the spiritual cat because she missed it. Who would have thought that, when they met again, it would be a life or death parting? Jun Changxiao stood in front of the stone pillar, his fists tightly clenched. At this time, the anger that gathered in his body had already suppressed his grief. The little dragon's battered corpse lay on the ground. Although its face was pained, there was a faint smile on its face, as if it were happy to see its master again before it died. System. Jun Changxiao roared in his heart. Empty its 3 points and save it. I'm sorry. The system helplessly said. The little dragon's life force has been cut off. Even if you activate the crisis resolution mode, it will be difficult to bring it back to life. Moreover, its heart has been dug out. Jun Changxiao lifted the death god's scythe, and a sharp blade light instantly burst out. Mountain after mountain was cut off and collapsed. His entire body surged with a billowing evil energy, as if he had truly turned into a demon. The stone pillar was fine. Nothing was allowed to happen to it, because it stole my contract beast's dragon emperor body and nailed it to the stone pillar. If I don't use the same method to kill that fellow, then how can I face the little dragon's spirit in heaven? I will destroy the dragon territory. I will kill all the dragons. Jun Changxiao's eyes gradually turned red, as if he were losing all reason. The little dragon's death might have nothing to do with the dragons. But you didn't protect your own dragon emperor. You deserve to die. It's over. The system said. You've gone mad. After learning that the little dragon was nailed to the stone pillar, Jun Changxiao's heart had already collapsed once. Now that he saw the little dragon die in front of him, he truly collapsed. Thus, no matter what crazy things he did, the system wouldn't be surprised. Little dragon, I'll bring you home. Jun Changxiao's tone was abnormally calm. A dog that bites doesn't bark. A dog that barks doesn't bite. At this time, he was the most terrifying. Xiao. The corpse was placed into the spatial ring. The little dragon was born in the Sect of all times. So even if it died, it would die in the Sect of all times. As for the dragon territory, how could it be used as a graveyard? Jun Changxiao dragged the death god's scythe as he walked out of the broken mountain, step by step. The evil energy gathered around him was getting stronger and stronger, and it was difficult to see his face clearly. The system said, there are only a few minutes left until the fourth form. Jun Changxiao fused into his spatial ring and summoned the last seal opening talisman. Not enough time. Continue. The system hurriedly advised. This method won't work. Even if it works, opening the seal twice will definitely bring about even more terrifying side effects. I don't care. Jun Changxiao roared with a ferocious expression. I want the dragon clan to be buried with me. Crazy. However, just as he was about to crush the opening talisman, the heart of the earth-horn dragon that was stored in his spatial ring suddenly flew out uncontrollably and hovered above the little dragon's corpse. Jun Changxiao was stunned. Swish suddenly, the earth-horn dragon's heart turned into a stream of light and entered the little dragon's body, which was still warm, without any hesitation. It hung over the empty heart. Could it be? The system exclaimed. This is a dragon's heart? Who? Who? A vast aura appeared and turned into white silk that wrapped around the little dragon's corpse. Then it disappeared into thin air. It's outside, the system said. Jun Changshao had already seen it, and a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. The spatial ring given by the system did not have the ability to store living creatures. There could only be one reason why the little dragon that had fused with the earthhorn dragon's heart was suddenly sent out. It had life. Not only that, the system said, I'm afraid this is still a great opportunity. Boom! The sound of something crashing came from the dragon palace. The Qingming Dragon King was sunken in the training ground, his scales scattered, and his expression was extremely painful. Gongsun Ruoli hovered in the air and said coldly, You made my son sad, so I'll make you sad. Strong. Damn it. The Qingming Dragon King's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and he was extremely unwilling to accept this. The time spent fusing with the Dragon Emperor's body was too short, and it was not completely compatible yet. Otherwise, this woman would not have gained the upper hand. Boom! Boom! On the other side, a few thousand Diablo and 200,000 Devil soldiers were also fighting with the endless stream of dragon martial artists, preventing them from entering the palace. Based on the current situation, although the Sect of all times and the stone statue race had temporarily suppressed the dragon race, it would be difficult for them to fight against the entire dragon race because there were too many of them. Gongsun Ruoli also realized this, so she decided to capture the Qingming Dragon King to prevent the dragon race from attacking. Swish! Swish! Suddenly, 3 streams of light broke through the mech's defense line and hovered in the air above the palace. When the light gradually dissipated, 3 powerful people with extraordinary auras appeared. Black Scales Dragon King, Azure White Dragon King, Blazing Red Dragon King. Gongsun Ruoli frowned and said, You guys are still alive. She guessed that since the Qingming Dragon King had the Dragon Emperor's body, he would definitely attack the other 3 Dragon Kings. She did not expect him to jump out in such a healthy state. Heh. Azure White Dragon King smiled faintly and said, Old Qingming, you seem to be in trouble. The Qingming Dragon King endured the pain and shouted angrily, The stone statue race offended my dragon race. What are you guys waiting for? You want us to help? Fierce Red Dragon King said, Sure, hand over the Dragon Emperor's body. Gongsun Ruoli understood. These 3 brothers were not here to help the Qingming Dragon King. They were here to take advantage of the situation. The dragon race was in such a mess. You guys! The Qingming Dragon King was furious, but after thinking about his current situation, he was forced to compromise and said, Okay. A smile appeared on the faces of the 3 Dragon Kings. They were not afraid that this guy would go back on his words, because he was already injured. Clan leader Gongsun, Black Scales Dragon King looked over and said coldly, Our races have been friends for generations, but you brought people here to cause trouble, and even killed so many of our people. This is a little too much. Too much, Gongsun Ruoli said. I don't think so. Swish! Swish! The other 2 Dragon Kings flew over and surrounded her in a triangular formation. Judging from the aura of the battle just now, clan leader Gongsun should be half a step into the divine state. If the 3 of us join forces, it shouldn't be considered bullying, right? White Azure Dragon King said. Gongsun Ruoli frowned. She could easily defeat 1 Dragon King, but now there were 3 of them, and they were not weaker than the Qingming Dragon King. This might be a little tricky. Of course. Black Scales Dragon King looked at the thousands of mechas and hundreds of thousands of demonic tribe soldiers and said coldly, Those who offend the dragon race must die. Huff! The dragon aura exploded and blasted at the dozens of Diablo mechas. Boom boom boom. In the face of absolute power, the mechas exploded. At the same time, the 3 Dragon King's subordinates came from different directions and surrounded the disciples of the Sect of all times and the 200,000 demonic tribe soldiers. This is troublesome. Gongsun Ruoli's face turned serious. Although she did not have much confidence in defeating the three dragon kings, it should not be difficult to escape safely. But what about her people and reinforcements? Swish, a gust of wind that contained the power of space blew over. Gongsun Ruoli was stunned because there was an additional person in front of her. As his back was facing her, she could not see his face clearly. She could only see the word unification engraved on the fluttering cape. Who is it? Jun Changxiao. He stood proudly with the word unification engraved on his forehead. There was no emotion in his eyes. The three dragon kings were stunned. There was no aura at all. There was no movement at all. This guy seemed to have appeared out of thin air. The Dragon Emperor is in trouble, but you did not come to help. Jun Changxiao said coldly. Now you are in a hurry to split the Dragon Emperor's body. What's the use of having trash like you? Brat, the fierce red Dragon King said angrily. Who are you calling trash? Boom, the edge of the training ground caved in rapidly. The bad-tempered Dragon King was lying in the depths of the pit. Black Scales Dragon King and Azure White Dragon King's eyes widened. They turned their heads stiffly and saw Jun Changxiao in the area where their companions were. A strong sense of fear surged in their hearts. The fierce red Dragon King was killed instantly. Jun Changxiao said calmly. The dragon race in the dragon territory are all trash. Chapter 1591. Calculating the time. Hard to retract blade had long since passed its time limit. But why wasn't Jun Changxiao weak? In particular, when he returned he was even stronger than before, even killing the fierce red Dragon King with a single punch? Because he had been possessed by the system. Because he had used a cheat. And what was strange was that Jun Changxiao had a handprint on his neck, as if he had been forcefully strangled. It was a long story, but in short, the little dragon had turned into a cocoon, and his vitality was gradually recovering. This allowed him to relax. Then, he grabbed his neck and roared. Come out and help me exterminate the dragon race. System. Are you coming out or not? Are you coming out or not? Jun Changxiao tightly clutched his own neck. He was so ruthless that his face turned red. Good. The system compromised. I'll come out. Being stored in the host's body. If he died then it would definitely die with him. Who? In an instant, Jun Changxiao erupted with a powerful energy. The word system appeared on his head and cloak, and his entire body was filled with explosive strength. From another perspective, this was a cheat. Little Dragon King. I'll take revenge for you. Wuxia vanished without a trace. Xiao Maxian, who was guarding the little dragon, said with wide eyes. Master suddenly disappeared. With the support of the system, Jun Changxiao's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in the skies above the imperial palace. Gongsun Ruoli hadn't noticed him at all. And what shocked her even more was that he had killed the fierce red Dragon King with a single punch. Terrifying. Gulp. The other two Dragon Kings swallowed their saliva at the same time. Their strength wasn't much stronger than the fierce red Dragon King's. If this fellow could instantly kill him, then he could also instantly kill them. Bang! At this time, Jun Changxiao appeared in front of the black-scaled Dragon King. His right fist gathered a powerful strength and came crashing down. The camera slowed down at just the right moment. One could clearly see how the black-scaled Dragon King's face was tilted, and his eyes were wide open. Plop! The black-scaled Dragon King fell to the ground, his hands and legs twitching. One punch and he was instantly killed. The Azure White Dragon King was so shocked that his scalp was about to explode. He realized that Jun Changxiao had stopped beside him. He quickly grabbed his head and said, Can I do it myself? No. Boom! The ground outside the training field caved in again. At this point, the four great Dragon Kings of the Dragon Clan were lying near the martial arts arena. It could be said that they were a family. Gongsun Ruoli's mouth twitched. What kind of technique did my son use to be powerful enough to instantly kill three peak stage, truth-seeking realm cultivators? Schwa. Jun Changxiao landed on the ground and placed one of his hands on Qingming Dragon King's face. Jun Changshao then lifted Qing Ming Dragon King out of the pit and said coldly, I will make you regret being alive. If all 4 Dragon Kings died, would this matter be over? No. The main event had just begun. You. Qing Ming Dragon King could already smell the danger, and a strong sense of fear rose in his sea of consciousness. His injuries were not serious. Now that Jun Changshao was clasping his face, not only did he not dare to move in the slightest, he even felt a chill run down his spine. Boom. Boom. Outside the palace, the battle continued. All of you stop. Suddenly, a deafening voice rang out. The Dragon Clan warriors who came from all directions subconsciously turned to look in the direction of the clan hall. They saw a bald young man clasping Qing Ming Dragon King's face with his hand, and the other 3 Dragon Kings hanging nearby in a coma. The fierce battle finally came to an end after all 4 Dragon Kings were killed. However, the entire Dragon Palace was already in ruins. Many buildings had collapsed into ruins, and only the crumbling clan hall was left. Awesome! Su Xiaoma's eyes were blazing. The Dragon Clan was not weak. After this battle, he felt very comfortable. Yi Xingchen was very disappointed, because he wanted to fight a little longer. In the end, the Patriarch took care of all 4 Dragon Kings, and the Dragon Clan warriors were all terrified. After the battle, the Sect of all times suffered heavy losses. At least 500 of the 3,000 Diablo planes were destroyed, which made Zhen Dejuan very sad. The Dragon Clan was even more miserable. Not counting those killed by Jun Changshao, the number of Dragon Clan warriors who died in the hands of the mechas and the 200,000 demonic tribe soldiers was around 30,000 to 50,000. At this moment, the palace was filled with corpses and scales. Dragon Graveyard. Little Long Long was still covered in layers of silk. As there was a special light flickering inside, the situation could not be determined. Clang! Clang! Jun Changshao, who had rolled up his sleeves, squatted at the side and focused on sharpening the green dragon crescent blade. The Qing Ming Dragon King was entangled. No, nailed to a stone pillar and could not move at all. He was not alone. There were a few other stone pillars beside him, and the other 3 Dragon Kings were also nailed to them. Jun Patriarch, the Black Scale Dragon King, who had regained consciousness, said bitterly, We did not harm your contracted beast. We are innocent. Clang. Clang. Jun Changshao continued sharpening for a while. He touched the sharp blade and said, Little Long Long was taken away by the 4 of you. Naturally, you have to bear the responsibility together. Jun Patriarch. The Red Dragon King broke down and said, We tried to persuade Qing Ming, but he did not listen to us. He even violated the rules and forcefully took away the Dragon Emperor's body. A bunch of cowards. The Qing Ming Dragon King's eyes flashed with anger. You still have the face to talk. The White Dragon King scolded. If it were not for you, our brothers would not be nailed to the pillar of shame. Swoosh. At this moment, Jun Changshao had finished sharpening the torture tool. He then raised the shiny green dragon crescent blade and said, You seem to be very stubborn. Don't worry. I will let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. Swoosh. Swoosh. The blade light crisscrossed. Swoosh. Swoosh. Ah. Green dragon scales fell off one by one. The Qing Ming Dragon King could not bear it, and let out a blood-curdling scream. Because the scene was too cruel, there was no need to show the camera. Everyone could imagine the scene of a fishmonger using a kitchen knife to scrape off fish scales in the market. The dragon scales on the little dragon's body fell off naturally because it lost the Dragon Emperor's body. Now that the Qing Ming Dragon King's scales were being forcefully scraped off, one could imagine how painful it was. The 3 Dragon Kings closed their eyes tightly and did not dare to look. But when they heard the cracking sounds, they were so shocked that their souls flew away. Bam! After a while, Jun Changshao held the green dragon crescent blade horizontally in front of him. The Qing Ming Dragon King, who was nailed to the stone pillar, had been scraped clean. His skin was white and tender. It would be delicious to stew with some seasoning. You, kill me. You want to die? Jun Changshao shook his head and said, It's not that simple. He flew up and stabbed the green dragon crescent blade into the back of the Qing Ming Dragon King. Then he slowly cut downwards. Ah! Ah! With a painful scream, a dragon tendon was pulled out. The entire process was slow and leisurely, but the three dragon kings were so frightened that they began to shiver. The three of you. Jun Changshao turned his demon-like face and said in a cold voice, "It's your turn." Jun Patriarch. The black-scaled dragon king was nearly scared to tears. "We were wrong. If you were wrong, then you will be punished." Jun Changshao raised the shining green dragon crescent blade. However, just as he was about to execute the punishment, Xiao Maxian cried out in alarm. "Master, look!" Jun Changshao turned his head. He saw the silkworm cocoon shine with a brilliant light, and then begin to disintegrate. Hoo! Suddenly, a boundless dragon might gushed out from within, forming visible ripples that spread throughout the entire dragon domain. Every dragon that was touched by this ripple couldn't help but revert to their true form. Dragon scales were forcefully peeled off from their bodies. Whoosh! Whoosh! Dragon scales gathered together, flying towards the dragon graveyard like a swarm of locusts. In front of the clan hall, Su Xiaoma looked up. As he saw this strange scene, he asked, "What's going on?" Chapter 1592. Scales fluttered in the sky. It could be described as magnificent. However, the Dragon Clan martial artists who had their scales stripped away were no exception. All of them collapsed on the ground, as if their bodies had been hollowed out. Could it be that what they lost was their essence? In fact, it didn't matter if they lost a scale. The reason why they were weak was that when the dragon scales were taken away, the dragon essence in their body was also taken away. The difference between the Dragon Clan and other demonic beasts was that there was no crystal core in their body but dragon essence. Whether they were strong or not, it was up to them to decide. Dragon essence was similar to energy. It could be brewed if it was gone, but it would definitely become weak if it was suddenly drained. Whoosh! Whoosh! The scales that carried countless dragon essence gathered together and flew toward the Dragon Clan graveyard, like the Milky Way falling from the ninth heaven. Soon, they formed a vortex and suspended above the little dragon that broke out of the cocoon. Then they were pieced together one by one on its body. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. At this moment, not only was his contracted beast regrowing dragon scales, but its vitality was also getting stronger, enough to indicate that it was out of danger. Not only that, as the dragon scales were pieced together, the dragon essence also merged with its body, filling its flesh and meridians. Dragon horns gradually appeared on the little dragon's head, and dragon whiskers began to gather at its nostrils. Although it had vitality after breaking out of the cocoon, because of the previous lack of various aspects, it looked like a smooth loach. Now, it had completely taken the form of a dragon, and it was even too colorful. The Dragon Clan's body was not of a single color. Now, a scale was taken from each of them and arranged irregularly on the little dragon's body. It could be said to be gaudy. The eyes of the three dragon kings gradually widened. Suddenly, they remembered a sentence recorded in an ancient book. My clan's ancestor was a 9-colored divine dragon that soared in the depths of the universe. Later, he went to the upper realm and opened up the dragon domain for generations to rest and recuperate. Because of the long history, it was treated as a legend. Now, the little dragon gradually stood up from its crouching position, with colorful dragon scales draped over it. The shock and astonishment in the hearts of the three dragon kings was even stronger, because they saw 5 claws, 6 claws, 9 claws. For so many years, the descendants of the Dragon Clan or mutated, and had many different colored scales. But there were always only 4 claws, because as long as there was one more, they would have the identity of the Dragon Clan's emperor. 9 claws. Jun Changshao was also stunned. The multicolored dragon scales were already very eye-catching, but the little dragon now had 9 claws. This transformation was a bit too big. Unbelievable, the system said. This is unbelievable. Swish! At this moment, little Long Long leaped into the air and circled above the blue dome of heaven. It raised its head and let out a dragon roar that shook the mountains and rivers. Sound waves visible to the naked eye rippled outwards. Buzz! Buzz! Layers of space folded and instantly filled the entire dragon field. Those dragons who had fallen into a weakened state, because their dragon essence had been taken away, all turned over with great difficulty, and knelt down as strong reverence arose in their hearts. The three dragon kings' faces were abnormally malevolent. They were the closest to the little dragon, so they could hear and feel it the most intensely. There was only one thought in their mind, and that was to quickly kneel down. However, because they were nailed to the stone pillar, they could not move at all. Wow! Xiao Maxian exclaimed. How beautiful! The little Long Long was no longer covered in cuts and bruises like before. It could even be said that it was glowing, as if it had been reborn from the ashes. At this moment, Jun Changxiao did not care about his dazzling appearance. He was more concerned about his strength, especially from the aura he was emitting. It seemed that he was much stronger than himself. That's right. The system said. Stronger than the host. What level? Upper truth-seeking realm. The corner of Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. First, Yao Minjing inherited the innate holy demon body, and her realm rose rapidly. Now, the contract beast was reborn from the ashes, and directly soared to the upper truth-seeking realm. On the other hand, what a failure! Bah! The system spat out a mouthful of phlegm. It was undeniable that Go Sheng was a bit of a failure in terms of realm, but he was still far ahead in terms of cheating. For example, when he was possessed by the system just now, he had the strength to trample the peak of the truth-seeking realm. This was something that Yao Minjing and the little dragon could never do. At this moment, the three dragon kings were completely dumbfounded. With a gorgeous appearance and 9 dragon claws, this was definitely the legendary form of the dragon ancestor. 5-clawed dragon, dragon emperor? As far as the current situation was concerned, it was too inferior. Who? The little dragon withdrew its vast dragon might, and slowly landed on the ground. Under a flash of 5-colored light, it turned into a young human form. Layers of scales formed a noble outfit. It smiled brightly and said, Master. The 2 short words made the atmosphere very warm. Jun Changxiao touched his shiny forehead, and then silently took out a tear gas bomb. Boom! Billowing smoke filled the air. The camera turned. A master and a servant hugged each other. Bean-sized tears flowed down, moving the heavens and the earth. Such a strong realm couldn't resist the tear gas bomb? It was very simple. They were almost separated by life and death. Now that they were safe and sound, they wanted to cry for no reason, so they used it to help at the critical moment. Woo woo woo. Xiao Maxian, who was standing on the side, also began to cry. Although there was a tear gas component, it was more tears of joy. The 3 dragon kings were the kind of people who wanted to cry, so it was natural for them to cry. The 3 dragon kings who were nailed to the stone pillars were injured and weak. They couldn't bear the stimulation of the tear gas, and started to cry loudly. They cried until their snot flew 3,000 feet. After losing the dragon emperor body, the little dragon became a 9-colored 9-clawed divine dragon. Its strength greatly increased. It could be considered a blessing in disguise. All of this was because of the earthen horn dragon's heart that was rewarded for leveling up. Even the tear gas bomb was used to reunite the master and servant. It could be seen that the author's plan was exquisite and amazing. Of course, things weren't over yet. The Blue Abyss Dragon King who seized the Dragon Emperor body was still alive, but he was in a severe coma. Moreover, the 3 Dragon Kings weren't punished. Little Dragon, Jun Changxiao said, this is an internal matter of the dragon race. I will leave them to you to deal with. Little Dragon walked in front of the stone pillar. As he looked at the half-dead Blue Abyss Dragon King, his eyes flashed with an intense killing intent. Because of him, he had obtained a great lucky chance. But this was different from rebelling against his superiors and seizing power. Thus death was inevitable. Master, Little Dragon said, this fellow has inherited the Dragon Emperor body, and has a powerful dragon essence within him. I will refine him. The 3 Dragon Kings broke out in a cold sweat. As for them, Little Dragon looked over and waved his hand, removing the dragon nails from their bodies. He coldly said, "Seeing that they didn't help the villain, I will spare them." The 3 dragon kings fell to the ground in distress. Ignoring the pain all over their bodies, they hurriedly knelt down and said in panic, "Thank you, Emperor, Ancestor, for sparing us." Blue Abyss Dragon King had failed in seizing power, and Little Dragon had become the ruler of the dragon race. They naturally recognized the situation. But the other party had a 9-colored 9-clawed body, the legendary form of the dragon ancestor. Thus he could not be called Emperor, but Ancestor. Jun Changshao didn't say anything. After all, this was an internal matter of the dragon race. Shwa! Little Dragon raised his hand, and a vast dragon might howled out, covering Blue Abyss Dragon King, who was nailed to the pillar of shame. Then with a miserable howl, he condensed into a resplendent crystal core. Hiss! The 3 dragon kings sucked in a breath of cold air. To casually condense a peak truth-seeking realm martial artist into dragon essence. This was absolutely the power of the dragon ancestor. "Let's go," Jun Changshao said. "Return to the dragon race and inherit the dragon race." Little Dragon nodded. "Hey," Xiao Maxian followed, curling her lips. "Do you think you're so amazing right now that you haven't even looked at me? Fuck off. Get away from me." Chapter 1593. The matter of the dragon race had basically come to an end at this point. But the most important part was still missing, which was to inherit the throne. Although Little Longlong didn't have the dragon emperor body, it had merged with the heart of the Earthhorn dragon and obtained the stronger dragon ancestor body. It was certain that it would become the ruler of the entire dragon domain. Ka! Outside the clan hall, Zhongyi led the Mecha clan to clean up the battlefield until a large number of dragon scales were piled up and kept into the space ring. The dragon race was also a beast. Therefore, the things on them were extremely valuable. If it wasn't for Little Longlong, Jun Changshao would even order his disciples to pick up the dragon meat and give it to Lu Wanshi to make a sumptuous dragon feast. Phew! Paige landed on the training field and activated its earth element to repair the deep pit. Li Qingyang's construction team was responsible for filling the stone slabs. As Gosheng's first contracted beast, it had never been shown fighting. It was really sad that it had to appear immediately after doing hard work. It couldn't be helped. As an earth element expert, Paige's role was to be in charge of logistics. For example, Purple Electric Spirit Tiger, Beating Rooster, and other contracted beasts were envious. After all, some of them didn't appear in the camera for hundreds or thousands of chapters. In just a few days, the dilapidated dragon palace that looked like a slaughterhouse looked brand new. Because Li Qingyang was in charge of the renovation, it looked even more magnificent than before. High Priest Jun Changshao, who was standing in front of the clan hall, said, "How about Little Longlong ascend the throne tomorrow?" "Okay." The High Priest, who was standing at the side, said, "This dragon race's upper echelon had undergone a huge change compared to when he visited the mansion previously, especially his temperament. The reason was simple. The previous High Priest was actually someone sent by Qingming Dragon King to impersonate him. The real High Priest was imprisoned because he strongly opposed the latter's succession. Unlike the 3 dragon kings who stayed out of the matter, he always supported Little Longlong, even if the latter's dragon emperor body was taken away. As for the dragon race in the dragon domain, except for Qingming Dragon King's subordinates, everyone else was kept in the dark. Previously, they came from all the major cities because of the dragon emperor body's summon. To be exact, they were treated as cannon fodder. The next day, the dragon emperor succession ceremony began. The 3 dragon kings and the senior members of the dragon kind, who hadn't fully recovered from their injuries, lined up neatly in the palace. Their faces were filled with shame and self-blame. Some of the dragon race experts were not subordinates of the Green Abyss Dragon King, but they were forced to compromise due to their fear of his strength and the dragon monarch physique. Now that the new dragon monarch had ascended to the throne, they would definitely be ashamed of themselves. Little Long Long was aware of this, so after inheriting the throne, he did not seek revenge. There were too many high-ranking officials involved in this power struggle. If they were to count them one by one, they would face a situation where there would be no generals available. After the inauguration ceremony, Jun Changshao asked, "Are you sure you don't want to punish them?" Many people were forced into it. Little Dragon said, "Now that Qingming Dragon King has been executed, if we continue to pursue the mistakes of others, it might shake the foundation of the entire dragon race." Jun Changshao nodded and said, "You've grown a lot after this disaster. Come, relax your mind." Little Dragon did not know what he meant, but he still did as he was told. When he felt the connection between them being severed, he said in shock, "Master." Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and said, "You're now the leader of the dragon race. The future of the dragon race depends on you." After Little Dragon successfully hatched, the two of them automatically signed a master-servant contract. However, Gosheng had never treated him as a servant beast, but as a family member. Now that he had inherited the throne, the contract that was almost non-existent could be officially abolished. "Master," Little Dragon said sadly, "you don't want me anymore? Call me Patriarch." "Jun Patriarch." Bang. Jun Changshao punched him in the head, then threw the entry form and shouted, "Remove the word monarch." Little Long Long clutched its head and grinned. So it was not that he did not want him anymore, but that the master-servant relationship was changed to that of a sect. "Okay, no objections." He picked up the pen and said hesitantly, "I don't think I have a name." Both Huolong and Little Dragon were nicknames, so they could not be used as an official name. "Simple," Jun Changshao said. "Pick one." "Air." Little Dragon scratched his ears and cheeks as he pondered. Why would such an uncultured fellow become my contracted beast? Why would such an uncultured fellow become my contracted beast? Jun Changshao first despised him in his heart, then had a flash of inspiration and said, "Since the dragon race has the surname Long, why don't we call him Long Outyin, meaning to look down on the heavens?" "Alright." Little Dragon happily accepted. From then on, he was no longer a contract beast, and had a real name Long Outyin. As one of the four great surnames, whose status was not inferior to Yi Lingxiao's, coupled with the fact that he looked down on the heavens, he was absolutely tyrannical to the extreme. Pa! The bright red Sect seal was stamped. Disciple Long Outyin. Little Dragon straightened his body and cupped his hands. "Greetings, Patriarch." From a contract beast to a disciple, theoretically speaking, their relationship was a little distant, but their relationship had been sublimated after this experience. Yao Minjing controlled 1,000,000 devil soldiers. Long Outyin controlled the entire dragon race. Jun Changshao was the leader of the stone statue race. The three most powerful races in the upper realm were all under the control of the Sect of all times. With this power gathered, they could really wrestle with the 10 major immortal sects. No problem. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others' natal contracts were also the favorites of the major races. Add them in, will that do? Jun Changshao, who developed in the lower realm, relied on cheating in his realm, as well as challenging the major sects and participating in various competitions to make the Sect of all times a legend step by step. Since coming to the upper realm, although he had just entered the realm of truth-seeking, his disciples and the power he controlled were enough to fight against the top forces. A few days later, Jun Changshao let everyone out of Dragon City. It was almost time to go back. "Patriarch." Little Dragon sent him to the door and said seriously, "When I'm done with the matters in the race, I'll return to the Sect." He had just become the ruler of the dragon race, and still had many internal affairs to deal with. So he did not plan to return to the Sect of all times with Jun Changshao for the time being. Gosheng expressed his understanding. However, before leaving, he thought of something and said, "The people of the star spirit world might come at any time. Your dragon race should also make preparations to avoid being affected." "Understood. Let's go." Jun Changxiao waved his sleeves and led everyone away. Humph. Xiao Maxian glared at little dragon and angrily followed her master. My emperor. Watching them leave, the high priest said with a dignified expression, You patriarch are extraordinary. Blue Abyss Dragon King's seizure of power was almost irreversible. But because of his arrival, it had turned into nothingness. He had truly turned the tide. If you have too much contact with the patriarch, Little Dragon proudly said, you will understand that extraordinary is not enough to describe me. Elder Lu. In front of the stone dragon high-speed transmission array, Jun Changxiao said, Take them back to the sect first. I still have to make a trip to the stone statue race. Fuck. Let him take us back. Ding Xingwang, Li Qingyang, and the others instantly recalled the painful memories they had when they first came to the dragon territory. Whoosh. Whoosh. The high-level figures and disciples of the sect of all times left one after another. Jun Changxiao brought rows of flowers and followed Gongsun Ruoli back to the stone statue race. He could have directly returned to the sect of all times, but as the patriarch of a race, he had to make arrangements in advance. My son. On the way, Gongsun Ruoli said, Your wife seems to have some special supernatural powers, but her strength is too weak. How about following me and cultivating for a period of time? Aren't you going to leave the upper realms to find that heartless man? A year or two won't matter. All right. Although the patriarch of the stone statue race was a woman, she was stronger than Jinren Tonggu. With her teaching rows of flowers, she would definitely advance by leaps and bounds in a short time. Crack. Ka-ka. Above the West Sea, space slightly collapsed. Whoosh suddenly, a stream of light squeezed out from the crack. Then there was a sinister laugh. Kikik, this ancestor has finally come out. Who? The most tragic villain in this book, the demon ancestor. Chapter 1594. After the Dragon Clan incident ended, Jun Changxiao returned to the stone statue territory. However, as soon as he stepped into the main city, he felt weak. The reason was that the side effect of using the opening seal talisman was still difficult to suppress. In fact, after the effect was over, he should have been weak, but because the system controlled his body, he had been suppressing it until now. My son. Gongsun Ruoli was worried. What happened to you? No, nothing. Jun Changxiao said. I used too much strength, I just need to rest for a while. Gongsun Ruoli was enlightened. She was even more certain that her son must have used some kind of powerful magical power to kill the 3 dragon kings. Now that he was weak, it should be a side effect. Although she was curious, she did not ask. Her son must have had a special opportunity outside. On the other hand, as a father, she did not fulfill her responsibility. It was also this guilty mentality that made her decide to cultivate her daughter-in-law rows of flowers. It's okay. Jun Changxiao secretly rejoiced. It's only the side effect of the unstoppable blade. The threat of the system's possession to avenge the little dragon. He was prepared to bear more tragic side effects. In the end, not only did it not appear, even his 3 points were not emptied. He was happy. Don't be so happy. The system said. There's something I must tell the host. What is it? My power can't be withstood by the dragon territory. After it appears, it will cause deep damage to the space, resulting in unpredictable consequences. For example? I don't know. Jun Changxiao was speechless. However, the system said again, I've already analyzed it in the dragon territory. The space system is normal. It shouldn't be damaged. Since it's fine, that's the best. Jun Changxiao said. The system said, I'm afraid there will be hidden dangers. Sorry. It had already become a hidden danger. Just as Jun Changxiao was possessed and instantly reached the dragon palace, the deep space was damaged. Why was the dragon territory fine? Because the virus had been transferred to the demonic territory. The ancestral lands of the various clans all relied on the small space of the upper realm, so they belonged to the same system. Otherwise, there would not be stone dragon high speed. The demon ancestor, who was trapped in the demonic territory, suddenly found a small crack gradually appearing in the sky when Jun Changshao was abusing the 3 dragon kings. So he was overjoyed. Someone shook the seal. Opportunity. This was a great opportunity. Demon Alpha did not hesitate to fly over. She dived into the crack. She went through a process similar to the birth of a baby. Finally, she came out of the wild demon area. During the battle on Hidden Soul Island, Jun Changshao and Ryu Sinan had carelessly trapped this villain in the ancestral land. Now that the system had possessed him, he had carelessly released him. It could be said that his success was due to Go Sheng, and his failure was due to Go Sheng. In the depths of the West Sea, the background music of Cut Plum Blossom began to play. Demon Ancestor was stunned as he hovered in midair. After a long time he roared, "Where is my island?" That was right. The area he was in was where Hidden Spirit Island should have been. But now, not only was he unable to see it, he couldn't even feel the aura of the array formation. It was as if it had completely evaporated. Understood. No wonder he was trapped in the ancestral land. No wonder the teleportation formation failed. It must have something to do with the disappearance of the island. Pooh! The fiend ancestor's blood was unable to be suppressed and spurted out again. Relying on the formation to enter the demonic domain, he didn't find anything at all. When he finally came out, his base was gone. It was true. Demon Ancestor's mentality was too strong. If it were anyone else, they would have been angered to death after suffering consecutive blows. Ancestor. At this moment, the remaining members of the Buried Moon Pavilion, led by the Great Guardian, flew over from afar. Their eyes flickered with excitement, as if they had found a lighthouse in the darkness. The island, Demon Ancestor roared. Who stole it? The Great Guardian and the others fell silent, because they didn't know either. Jun Changshao rested in the stone statue domain for a few days. Although his cultivation hadn't recovered, he at least had the ability to move. Therefore, he held a banquet for the 3 chancellors and 9 ministers, to thank them for helping him in the dragon domain. This is what a subject should do, the Grand Preceptor said. After the incident with the Dragon Clan, they admired this new patriarch very much. After all, it was too exaggerated for a lower-level truth-seeking realm expert to kill a peak-level truth-seeking realm expert in seconds. Everyone. Jun Changshao raised his glass and said, "My father didn't manage the internal affairs much before. Thanks to your help, the clan has developed in an orderly manner. Come, I toast you with this glass of wine." The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers hurriedly picked up the wine glasses in front of them. The Grand Preceptor said, "Since we have been entrusted with such an important task, we should help the Patriarch solve his problems." "In that case," Jun Changshao said, "then continue to manage the clan on my behalf." "Huh." The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers were dumbfounded. "Sigh." Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "To be honest, because I used a certain divine power, I will fall into a very long period of weakness. Only by returning to the sect can I recuperate as soon as possible. So I can only continue to entrust the clan's affairs to you." With that, he picked up his wine glass again. The 3 chancellors and 9 ministers looked at each other. They finally understood why the Patriarch invited everyone to a banquet. It was not to thank them, but to be a hands-off boss. "Please." Jun Changshao drank the wine in his glass. Everyone broke down. Since the Patriarch had already said so much, they definitely couldn't refuse. "All right," the Grand Preceptor said. "Since the Patriarch thinks so highly of us, we will definitely do our best to manage the clan." The old Patriarch had previously handed over the internal affairs to everyone, and the new Patriarch intended to be a hands-off boss, so they could only continue to shoulder the burden. In ancient times, Song Taizu gave away military power with a glass of wine, and today Jun Patriarch gave away power with a glass of wine. Of course, he definitely wouldn't really be a hands-off boss. After all, Gongsun Ruoli was passed to him, so he definitely had to take responsibility. Besides, soon, the Star Spirit world would invade. Not to mention whether the 10 major immortal sects and the entire upper realm could withstand it. He had to be prepared in advance. "Got it." Jun Changshao said to himself. After returning, send Hall Master Shui here, and let him be in charge of training the Stone Statue clan, so that they can enter a formal military state as soon as possible. The Stone Statue clan also had an army, but it was more messy and didn't have a good commander to command. Although their strength was good on the surface, they might not be able to perform well in a large-scale battle. Battle armor, Jun Changshao said. It's time to give them everything. Since the Star Spirit world dared to come to the upper realm again, they must have sent a lot of people. He needed to make a comprehensive arrangement. If the 10 major immortal sects couldn't withstand it, he could only lead everyone to fight. Sigh. Gosheng shook his head and said, Am I going to save the world again? In the Falling Star continent he had saved many times. Now that he was in the upper realm, he still had to go back to his old ways. No wonder the readers would crazily complain about his repetitive routines. Bah! The system spat out a mouthful of phlegm at an inappropriate time. That's right. Resisting the invasion of foreign races was an act of saving the world. But the host's real purpose was not for himself, but for reputation points. No matter what the purpose is, I saved the world anyway. Is there anything wrong with that? Jun Changshao said. The system was speechless. Indeed. No matter what the reason was, he had saved it. This was hard to deny. A few days later, Jun Changshao brought Gong Sun Ho and left the Stone Statue region to return to the sect. Rose of Flowers did not leave, because she had already left with Gong Sun Ruoli to cultivate, temporarily for about 2 years. Chapter 1595. It still smells the same. Standing in front of the sect's main hall, Jun Changshao felt very comfortable as he felt the cool breeze. Although he was the Stone Statue tribe's patriarch, this would always be his home. Lass, Jun Changshao said loudly, prepare the food, we'll have a party tonight. The 3 tribes were all under his direct or indirect control. Diablo and the Devil Army had also displayed extraordinary combat strength in the Dragon Domain. They definitely had to celebrate. Okay. Lu Wansher led the canteen members and started to get busy. When night fell, a huge bonfire was lit, and a sumptuous meal was placed on the table. The upper echelons and disciples gathered at the training ground to eat, drink, and laugh. Yi Xingchen also participated. He pressed one hand on Su Xiaoma's shoulder and looked at the 10 jars of drunken life on the table. He said calmly, If you don't drink it all today, don't even think about leaving. The wine Dao Supreme was fearless. Jun Changshao raised his wine cup and said with interest, You've changed quite a bit after going to Blade Mountain Flame Sea Guild. The Purple King's mouth twitched. He had been training in Blade Mountain Flame Sea Guild for a long time. Although there were no scenes, the suffering he experienced was enough to make his scalp tingle. Of course, there would be returns with effort. Before going in, the Purple King was only at rank 7 or rank 8. Now he was comparable to a truth-seeking realm cultivator. I heard. Jun Changshao drank another mouthful of wine and smiled. You can tear a spatial rift and easily bring people into the ancestral lands of other tribes? The Purple King muttered in his heart. Do you still need to hear? Haven't you already seen it with your own eyes? Jun Changshao poured wine and said meaningfully, This ability of yours is good. When you're free in the future, you can bring me to visit other tribes. The Purple King's face was crumbling. He had a feeling that this visit had another meaning. The celebration party lasted until midnight. It was rare for the disciples not to think about cultivation. They had a lot of fun. Plop. Su Xiaoma finally collapsed under the table. TSK. Yi Xingchen put down the wine jug. Seeing that this fellow was on the verge of collapsing, a look of disdain appeared on his face as he said, You really can't hold your liquor. Anya was not drunk. Instead, the more he drank, the more sober he became. After the banquet ended, a person came to the top of the mountain and looked at the sky with a complicated gaze. What are you thinking about? Jun Changshao's voice came from behind. Yi Xingchen did not turn his head. He said, During this period of time, I can feel another soul in my body moving restlessly. Paenia? Yes. Jun Changshao sat on a rock at the side with his legs crossed and said, "From this, it can be seen that although you have taken over his body, you have not taken over his soul." Yi Xingchen smiled bitterly. "Perhaps this is a chance given to me by the heavens to make up for my mistakes." "What mistake?" "You have implicated an innocent life." Jun Changshao was flabbergasted. Regarding the matter of taking over Pei Ania's body, from the point of view of the era he had lived in, it was definitely wrong. But as a knight emperor who lived in a world where martial arts were respected, it was really a little unbelievable that he could think so. It should be known that the experts in the martial arts world never cared about trifles. "Patriarch," Yi Xingchen said seriously, "as I have a deeper understanding of the sacred soul tempering skill, I found that this martial art can help me make up for my mistakes." "What do you mean?" Jun Changshao asked. "The sacred soul tempering skill is used to temper the soul. When it reaches the peak, you can control the soul at will. Maybe you can transfer it from the original body to another body." "So magical." Jun Changshao was stunned. He had not practiced the sacred soul tempering skill recently. In order to become stronger, Anyo had been comprehending it day and night, so his understanding was much stronger. "What a pity." Yi Xingchen shook his head and said, "Transferring from another body to another body will also implicate a life, so I am very conflicted now." "It's simple," Jun Changshao said. "Find a corpse." Strictly speaking, he was also taking over the body, but unlike Yi Xingchen who took it by force, he inherited it after the death of the original owner. So he did not feel guilty, and did not have to worry about being criticized by the readers. "If I merge with an ordinary corpse, I may have to cultivate from the beginning." This was what Yi Xingchen was most conflicted about. He really wanted to leave this body and let Anyo regain control, but he was afraid that if he were to transfer to another body, more than 10 years of hard work would go to waste. If there was no hatred, Yi Xingchen might choose to start over. But now that he had a 10-year promise with Empress Ling Yao, he certainly would not allow himself to start from scratch. Indeed, Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, "If the corpse and the soul do not match, there may be unknown problems, so we must consider carefully. Don't rush. Be comforted. There is still a long time, one step at a time." In fact, Go Xing had thought about whether to separate Yi Xingchen and Anyo, but there was no good way. Now that the soul-tempering sacred celestial technique had this function, he would definitely take it seriously, such as finding the body of a fallen expert. Hua! In the clear lake, a strong body gradually floated to the surface, and then stopped by the shore. Who? The demon ancestor. After being trapped in the demonic region for so long, he could finally take a bath. Kakik. Turning around, looking at the body reflected on the lake, he said proudly, "Perfect body." There was nothing wrong with the reconstructed body, but it would take a lot of time to recover his previous cultivation. "It's not a big problem." The demon ancestor comforted himself. "I just need to find a place with good feng shui and recuperate for a few hundred years." The million demon army in the demonic region was gone, and the hidden island was also gone. But it was not enough to completely defeat him, because the death and failure he experienced 100,000 years ago were more serious than that. "My ancestor," the great guardian said, "what should we do next?" The demon ancestor's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he said, "Think of a way to get rid of the sect of all times." He did not know that the disappearance of the soldiers and the destruction of the base were directly related to Jun Changshao. But he knew that his sacred demon body was stolen by his disciple. Since the 10 immortal sects could not cause trouble, he could only do it himself. The great guardian said worriedly, "The sect of all times has just been recognized as a mysterious sect. I'm afraid." The demon ancestor pointed at his head with 2 fingers and said, "Is your head used to store paste? Don't you know how to use some tricks?" "Understood." The great guardian suddenly understood. The ancestor did not mean for him to fight the sect of all times openly, but to use tricks behind their backs. "I'm going to cultivate in seclusion," the demon ancestor said lightly. "I'll leave the matter of dealing with the sect of all times to you. You must do it beautifully." "Yes." The great guardian immediately raised his head. However, he said weakly, "My ancestor, where do you plan to cultivate in seclusion?" "I can't stay in the West Ocean." The demon ancestor thought for a while and said, "I can only go to the East Ocean. The stone statue race's entrance is in the East Ocean. If they find out, humph," the demon ancestor said proudly. "If I want to hide, I won't be found by anyone." If the dead members of the buried moon pavilion were still alive, they would definitely cry. "My ancestor, you said the same thing in the hidden island. In the end, you were still found and wiped out." Chapter 1596. The demon ancestor went to the East Sea, found a small island, set up a formation, and began to cultivate in seclusion. It did not matter if he did not have the million-strong demon army. As long as he could recover to his peak in the world as soon as possible, he could still stir up trouble in the upper realm and do whatever he wanted. Mentality. It was very important. Jun Changshao, who was in the Sect of all times, also began to think seriously at this moment. Since the soul-tempering sacred celestial technique could separate Yi Xingqian's soul, he must find a suitable body for him. The prerequisite was that it must be qualified and would not start over after merging. "It's very difficult," the system said, "unless it's at the truth-seeking realm." Jun Changshao rubbed his temples and said, "That's not easy to find." The truth-seeking realm was already considered a powerhouse in the upper realm. Not to mention finding a corpse, it was difficult to even find one when going out. "Wait a minute." Suddenly, Jun Changshao thought of something and said happily, "Didn't the demon ancestor resurrect? He should have reconstructed a very good body." From the buried moon pavilion branch leader, he learned that the demon ancestor's soul still existed. Since he was resurrected, his body must be intact, and it could carry the lord of the demonic domain. It was definitely sturdy, the system said. "It's good enough that he doesn't come looking for trouble, and you still want his body? This old demon has been resurrected for a while." Jun Changshao said, "There's no news yet. He should be hiding in a corner to recuperate. If we catch him, won't Anyo's body be solved?" After saying that, he went to the Drizzle Hall. Li Luochio said, "Although the 10 great immortal sects have been investigating, they still haven't found the demon ancestor. These people are so inefficient." Jun Changshao said disdainfully, "The 10 great immortal sects could not be blamed. If there was anyone to blame it on the fight with Ryu Sinan in the West Sea, trapping the demon ancestor in the demonic domain. Even if the upper realm was turned upside down, they would not be able to find him." Jun Changshao went to the array hall again, not to ask about Mechs, but to ask if there was any progress on the teleportation formation. The upper realm was too big. If it could achieve fixed-point teleportation, it would save a lot of time. "Brat," the old man from Taishan said, "although the formation recorded in your Chiman 32 formations is low level, the method of setting it up is mysterious. Elder Zhen, Shangguan girl, and I tested it repeatedly, and we barely succeeded." Jun Changshao was overjoyed. "However," the Taishan man added, "it consumes a lot of energy. How much does it cost?" Back in the lower realm, when the super teleportation array was set up, teleporting martial artists required spirit stones. Even if it was possible to teleport to a higher upper realm, it would consume a lot of energy, and the price would be even higher. It costs 1 profound stone per person. "Just one?" Jun Changshao was stunned. The value of magnetite was definitely far greater than the spirit stones of the lower realms, but with Gosheng's current status, there was no pressure to let 100,000 disciples casually pass it around for fun. Furthermore, if they ran out, they could go to the Jia Hall, or the 10 great immortal sects to ask for more. After taking control of the 3 major tribes, Jun Changshao became a little complacent. He even began to think about when he would have the time to settle old scores. Of course, the star spirit realm would invade at any time, and the 10 major immortal sects still had to be the main force to resist. They could not do too badly, and just compensate him with some money. 1 profound stone should be able to teleport from the sect of all times to the east coast. the old man from Taishan said. Damn! Jun Changshao said in surprise. So far? The super teleportation formation that Zhen Diyuan and Shengguan Xinyao had researched in the lower bound had a certain distance. From the southwest Yangzhou to the central sovereign state, they had to change stations continuously. Now, with the research of their master, one mystical stone could be sent to the Eastern Sea, which was at least a few falling star continents away. A technical geek. Awesome plus, however. The old man from Taishan shook his head and said, although the cost of teleportation is not much, just setting up a teleportation array requires 100,000 true stones. The smile on Jun Changshao's face gradually froze. He did not hear wrongly. It was 100,000 true stones, not 100,000 profound stones. After the old man from Taishan carefully studied the strange Gate 32 arrays, combined with his understanding of arrays, he boldly and decisively improved the super teleportation array. The teleportation distance had greatly increased, but the price was that the cost of the teleportation base was extremely high. After a struggle, Jun Changshao slapped his thigh and said, even if it's 1 million true stones, we still have to build it. Although it was painful with the teleportation array, it would bring many conveniences, such as support and information transmission. Not to mention, the Star Spirit Realm was about to arrive, and with this kind of array, it would be better to face it. Are teleportation arrays set up in the entire upper realm? Jun Changshao broke down and said, I also want to, but my strength doesn't allow it. 100,000, 10 million, and 100 billion. So many true stones. Even if he sold himself, he would not be able to gather so many. Choose the important places to set up first. Jun Changshao took out the map and picked a few important areas, including the entrances and exits of the stone statue domain and the dragon domain, so that they could visit and support each other in the future. After receiving the instructions, the array formation hall set out. First, they needed to choose a location. After all, the teleportation array could not be set up casually. First, they had to ensure that it was hidden and not discovered. Secondly, they had to ensure that the array was safe and could not be maliciously destroyed by external forces. It was easy to choose inland, but the difficult part was in the East Sea. I think. Shengguan Xinyao looked at the map carefully and said, we can choose some extremely remote islands. That's right. Zhen Diyuan agreed. Jun Changshao said, I will send people to the East Sea to explore and find islands that can be used to build teleportation arrays. Swish. Swish. On that day, the disciples of the Sect of all times, led by the Purple King, flapped their rainbow wings and flew out of the Sect toward the East Sea. Among them were Li Tiantian, Sima Zhongda, and Rin Shan. Sending this koi fish over, Gosheng hoped to rely on him to find ancient treasures left behind in the sea. Great Guardian. Outside the Sect of all times, a voice came from the dark forest. The disciples of the Sect of all times are out. How many? 3 to 500. Very good. The Great Guardian walked out of the dark environment and said with a cold gaze, today, they will never return. The demon ancestor had given him the mission to target the Sect of all times. Therefore, after much consideration, he decided to hide outside the Sect and wait for their disciples to come out for a sneak attack. Although the method was clumsy, it was a good way to attack Jun Changshao. If they fought head-on, they wouldn't even be able to enter the Sect. They would be beaten until their parents couldn't recognize them. Let's go. Swish. 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 The Great Guardian led his subordinates and followed. After confirming that the disciples of the Sect of all times were heading to the East Sea, he sneered in his heart. Just nice. I can make my move without worry. A few days later, Hall Master Z brought the disciples of the Sect of all times to a small island in the East Sea. After careful inspection, he nodded and said, this place is not bad. Start setting it up. Yes. The members of the array formation hall landed and opened up an empty space. Then, they placed down real stones and drew the array formation and lines according to the method taught by the Taishan elders. Swish! With a flash of light, a barrier appeared. Sect of all times. After the teleportation array on the island was activated, Shengguan Xinyao reported, Patriarch, we have established a teleportation connection with the East Sea region. Jun Changshao drank a mouthful of tea. His hands were trembling. Establishing a connection between the two arrays meant that 100,000 real stones were gone. Sigh. Gosheng said to himself. If you want to make it convenient, you have to spend money. Swish. At this moment, the teleportation point flashed with a bright light, and Li Shangtian appeared out of thin air. Fuck. Although a piece of magnetite was cheap, this kid couldn't be in a hurry to teleport back after setting up the array formation. Patriarch, Li Shangtian hurriedly said. Hall Master Z and the experts of the Buried Moon Pavilion are fighting. Chapter 1597. Great Guardian. The disciples of the Sect of all times have landed on a small island. They really know how to find a place to bury themselves. When do we take action? Don't panic. Let them lower their guard first. The members of the array hall were busy setting up the teleportation array on the island. The Great Guardian and his subordinates were hiding in the dark like venomous snakes. Actually, he had wanted to make a move before he came to the East Sea, but he was afraid that he would alarm the other cultivators, so he could only endure. Until he came to the Endless Sea, there was nothing to fear. The best thing was, his ancestor was cultivating in seclusion in the East Sea. If he killed the disciples of the Sect of all times, and brought their heads to see him, he might even be able to win his favor. The more the Great Guardian thought about it, the more excited he became. After about 15 minutes, he decided that the time was right. He immediately waved his arm and said, Kill them all. Yes. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, the members of the Buried Moon Pavilion, who were hiding nearby, unleashed their cultivation and rushed to the nameless island as fast as they could. Hall Master. At this moment, a member of the array hall said happily, We've already contacted the Sect. We can teleport at any time. Hall Master Z nodded. After experiencing the trials of the Mountain of Blades and Sea of Flames secret realm, he was more mature than before. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, waves of air surged from outside the island. Purple craggy beast monarch looked back and saw black-robed and masked cultivators descending from the sky. Buried Moon Pavilion? Die! The Great Guardian was the first to rush over with monstrous demonic aura. He completely unleashed his mid-level truth-seeking realm strength. He had already confirmed that the disciples of the Sect of all times were generally at the core transformation realm. Not to mention himself, even his subordinates could deal with them. You want to fight? Z quickly took off his clothes and went forward in only a red underwear. Whoosh whoosh. The pink heart-shaped boxing gloves instantly covered his hands. He punched out in the air and said, I'll accompany you to the end. Boom! Demonic aura and demonic aura collided, causing waves to rise. Swish! The chief protector was sent flying over 100 feet away, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. No matter how he looked at it, that guy seemed to have just entered the truth-seeking realm. Why was his power so barbaric and powerful? Shwa! In an instant, the Purple King turned into a purple light and shot out from the overlapping waves. Every inch of his muscles and every meridian exploded with violent power, causing the space around him to gradually distort. Boom boom boom. Boom 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 boom. Explosions rang out incessantly, and waves of energy surged into the sky. The Purple King, who seemed to be the incarnation of Big Brother, unleashed a series of dazzling attacks, forcing the Great Guardian to continuously retreat. At the same time, a thought appeared in his mind. This is not a human. Not bad. Z was not human. He was a demon king without the Bulgarian prefix. Boom. Boom. Z directly activated the Dragon Ball mode and started fighting in the air at the fastest speed possible. His combat power soared with every punch and kick. Although the Great Guardian couldn't get used to the rhythm and was beaten into a sorry state, the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. This was because his subordinates had already rushed onto the island and surrounded the disciples of the sect of all times. You are very strong. But what about us? Kill. The great guardian dodged as he roared. Kill them all. Yes. The eyes of the buried moon pavilion members flickered with brutal demonic light. They gathered all kinds of energy and blasted it toward the 100 disciples of the sect of all times who were huddled together. They were stronger in numbers. It was an overwhelming advantage. However, the disciples of the sect of all times didn't have any changes in their expressions, as if they didn't realize that they were about to die. Had they given up on struggling? Were they planning to face death with a calm attitude? Kikik. A buried moon pavilion member laughed strangely and said, Death is a very painful thing. Go and experience it. Huff. Huff. All kinds of energy came pressing down, and the momentum was vast. The array formation hall member in charge of setting up the array formation didn't make any defensive or escape movements. He even crossed his arms in front of his chest confidently. This angered the buried moon pavilion members even more. They immediately unleashed even more powerful energy, wanting to wipe them all out. Huff huff. The powerful demonic aura was like the wailing of ghosts and howling of wolves. However, at the critical moment, the teleportation formation flickered. The black and white Rakshasa flew out first, followed by Ding Xingwang and the other upper echelons of the sect. With their appearance, the demonic aura that had gathered on the island immediately retreated. The great guardian, who was fighting with the Purple King, widened his eyes. This was because thousands of disciples of the sect of all times had gathered on the island in a short period of time. They were all at the core transformation realm, and there was no lack of truth-seeking realm. Ta. Outside the formation, Xiao Ziji set up the chairs. Jun Changshao sat down and crossed his right leg over his left leg. He lowered his head and lit a cigar. He said calmly, You didn't take the path to heaven, but you came to hell without a door. Disciples, listen up, take down all these trash for me. Yes. Swish swish swish. In an instant, the pocket-sized Diablo was summoned. After the disciples entered the Diablo, huge mechas instantly filled the entire island. It was a magnificent scene. As for the members of the buried moon pavilion, they were dumbfounded. They had a strong aura at first, but in the face of the sudden appearance of tens of thousands of disciples of the sect of all times and thousands of mechas, they were like pitiful caterpillars. We're in trouble, the great guardian hurriedly said. Retreat. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding space rippled, and his entire body seemed to be wrapped in plastic wrap. Ryu Sinan waved his hand and pulled him down. He said, I let you escape last time, but you won't be able to escape this time. You. The great guardian's eyes were filled with shock. He had fought with Ryu Sinan before, but when he saw that he was no match for him, he found an opportunity to slip away. He did not expect to meet him again today, when he came to bully the disciples of the sect of all times. When one person was in danger, the whole family was mobilized. This was a long-standing tradition of the sect of all times. Therefore, the great guardian, and a few hundred subordinates of the buried moon pavilion, did not put up any resistance at all. They became captives and squatted on the ground, holding their heads. Patriarch. Li Qingyang walked over and said, There are 10 million Xian stones in the spatial ring. Not bad, not bad. Jun Changshao walked in front of the great guardian and pulled him over by the collar. He said with a cold gaze, Where is the demon ancestor? He did not kill these people because he wanted to find the mastermind. The great guardian was completely controlled, but he was very stubborn. He said, I won't say it even if you beat me to death. What if you don't? I won't say it either. Man, Jun Changshao let go and patted him on the shoulder. He said with a smile, I admire people like you the most because you can show the value of the Tianyuan prison pagoda. What the hell? Whoosh, the great guardian had just finished speaking when his vision blurred. When he came back to his senses, he was in a dark environment. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, a strange and sinister laughter rang in his ears. 3 ghost-like faces under the light suddenly appeared in his vision. It shocked him so much that he felt a strong chill run down his back. The prison trio appeared in a flash. On the deserted island, Jun Changshao leisurely sipped his tea. Since he had spent a Xian stone to teleport here, he definitely had to enjoy the sea view. Otherwise, it would be a waste to return. Patriarch. At this time, Ren Shan's shout rang in his ears. I found a treasure island. Chapter 1598. Purple Craggy Demon King didn't gather all his disciples on one island. Many of them had spread out in search of a base to build the array formation. For example, Ren Shan. He and more than 10 of his fellow disciples went in another direction. They saw many islands, but most of them were too small to be used as fixed teleportation arrays. Wait a minute. On the way, Ren Shan said, I need to go to the toilet. Li Tian said, this is the deep sea, and there are no female disciples here. Can't you just take off your pants? No. Ren Shan said seriously. The Patriarch always teaches us that we must be a quality disciple of the sect of all times when we are outside. That's right. Gosheng did say that. Okay. Li Tian said. Then go quickly, don't waste time. Ren Shan hurriedly flew to a nearby deserted island. After making sure there was no one around, he took off his pants. As a result, he was bounced back and splashed on his clothes. Haha, Li Tian, and the others laughed so hard that they could not straighten their backs. However, the laughter on their faces completely froze, because the space on the island was slightly distorted, and a flowing light barrier gradually appeared. Ren Shan pulled up his pants and reached out to touch it. Suddenly, he was bounced back as if he was electrocuted. He then turned his head and exclaimed, there's an array. There may be treasures here. Swish, swish, Li Tian, and the others hurriedly landed. After confirming that it was an array, they hurriedly gave a thumbs up and said, as expected of a koi, just by going to the toilet, we can find an opportunity. The island they were on was very small, because most of it was bare. It belonged to the kind of existence that couldn't be seen if it was thrown into the group of islands. Now that there was a special formation, even if one thought with their toes, they could guess that there must be something hidden. Hurry up and inform the Patriarch. Huff huff. Huff huff huff. On a deserted island with an area of only a few hundred square meters, thousands of Diablo floated around. The energy waves produced by the jets shook the surrounding space in waves. TSK. After the Taishian elder confirmed, he concluded, from the internal structure of the array, it has at least 100,000 years of history. 100,000 years? Jun Changshao said joyfully. Could it be that a barren island with no blinking of an eye is hiding a shocking treasure? Can it be broken? Although this formation has been around for a long time, its strength has already weakened. There shouldn't be too much of a problem. All right. Jun Changshao said, I'll leave it to Shizuan. Although the Taishian elder was depressed that he seemed to have been turned into a tool, he was quite moved by the ancient array, so he carefully studied it. Jun Changshao summoned the ancient warship and sat at the bow, sipping his tea. After a while, he felt bored, so he took out his fishing rod and started fishing in the East Sea. Buzz! A few days later, the formation on the deserted island suddenly distorted and gradually dissipated into the void, revealing its original appearance. I'll go, Jun Changshao said in surprise, so big. Before the formation was broken, the island was similar to a small courtyard. After it was broken, it instantly expanded to at least a few dozen acres. Moreover, there were bamboo forests, mountain rocks, lakeside, and buildings inside. It was as if it was a man-made imperial garden. Could it be? Jun Changshao's eyes were burning. Is this a small house in the heart of the sea built by an old senior? Swish! At this moment, monstrous demonic energy surged out of the room, accompanied by a roar. Who dares to disturb my secluded cultivation? Someone's here? Jun Changshao was stunned. Since the formation had existed for 100,000 years, wouldn't the person living on the island be an old monster? Trouble. The Taishian elder collapsed in his heart. I've provoked a hidden cultivator. Swish. The door of the room opened, and even more dense demonic energy surged out. Then, A burly young man floated proudly in the air and said angrily, "All trespassers must die." This voice, this appearance, that's right. It was the demon ancestor. It was very frustrating to hide in the East Sea from the West Sea. However, he was disturbed by a group of martial artists when he just found a small island to cultivate. He must be very unhappy. Of course, he dared to come out directly because he realized that the cultivation level of the intruder was only at the middle-level truth-seeking realm. If it was the 10 major immortal sects, he would definitely run faster than a rabbit. But now, I can't bully the immortal sects, but can't I bully you rookies? Senior, Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "We didn't mean to offend you. Please forgive us." Living in the 100,000-year-old array, this person's body and voice seemed to be as young as Yi Xingchen. Perhaps his strength was not inferior to Jinren Tonggu and Gongsun Ruoli. The demon ancestor, who had been suppressing his anger during this period, did not intend to be considerate, so he gathered demonic energy without hesitation and blasted it over. He felt bitter and wanted to kill someone. Whoosh, whoosh. Gloomy demonic energy erupted wantonly. Boom, 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 boom. The brilliant explosion light flickered in mid-air. After it gradually dissipated, Ryu Sinan hovered in front of him. The space barrier he condensed was faintly discernible. With a serious look he said, "Your demonic energy is very strong. Your identity should not be simple." The demon ancestor's current cultivation level was not high, but after all, he was the lord of the devilish clan. The demonic energy released by his every move was too strong. It was completely incomparable to ordinary demonic cultivators. Even Yao Menjing would be much weaker in front of him. "Senior," Jun Changshao asked, "may I know your name?" The demon ancestor said with a cold expression, "Trash, you are not qualified to know my identity." He was not deliberately pretending, but he did not dare to reveal his true identity. After all, if it was revealed to the 10 major immortal sects, he would definitely be in a bad situation. "Patriarch," Ryu Sinan said telepathically, "there is something wrong with this person. Could it be someone from the Buried Moon Pavilion?" Jun Changshao asked. "I suspect." Ryu Sinan was silent for a moment, then said, "It is very likely that he is the demon ancestor that the 10 major immortal sects have been searching for." He had been dealing with the Buried Moon Pavilion for more than a day or two. Although the demonic energy was strong, there was still a limit. The demonic energy emitted by the young man in front of him was truly terrifying. It was definitely something that he had never seen before in his life. Demon ancestor? Jun Changshao's expression froze. Die. At this moment, the demon ancestor once again gathered a monstrous demonic energy and blasted it over. He only had one thought in his mind, and that was to get rid of this group of martial artists who had disturbed him as soon as possible. Then, he would change to another island to cultivate in seclusion, lest the 10 major immortal sects find out. However, he probably did not know that the greatest threat to the upper realm was not the 10 major immortal sects, but the sect of all times in front of him, especially Jun Changshao. After hearing Ryu Sinan's judgment, regardless of whether the other party was the demon ancestor or not, he immediately shouted, "Capture him!" Who? 1,000 mecha began to move. The black and white Rakshasa and many higher-ups unleashed their cultivation. Boom! Boom! All kinds of energy bloomed like fireworks. On an inconspicuous island, a power that shook the heavens and earth erupted. Although the sect of all times had the advantage in numbers, the demon ancestor was not weak either. Even when facing the mecha and the upper echelons of the sect, he still did not fall into a disadvantageous position. In fact, the more he fought, the more energetic he became. Damn it! Seeing that he could not take down the enemy after a long time, Jun Changshao immediately took out a special stone and a special dragon scale from the space ring and shouted, 3 ministers, 9 ministers, Dragon Realm Dragon King, come out quickly. Buzz! Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, the space in the 2 regions of the East Sea rippled slightly. The 3 ministers and 9 ministers of the stone statue region, and the 3 dragon kings of the dragon realm quickly flew out and rushed to the scene of the battle as soon as possible. The demon ancestor, who had just sent a few Diablo mechas flying, saw the experts of the two clans coming over and said in disbelief, "This guy can mobilize the Stone Statue clan and the Dragon clan?" June Patriarch. The White Dragon King said, "We're here." June Patriarch. The demon ancestor subconsciously thought about it and felt that it was a little familiar. Wait a minute. Suddenly, he realized that all the martial artists around were wearing the same uniform and had the word ancient engraved on their chests. Could it be that he was the patriarch of the sect of all times, Jun Changshao? Patriarch. At this moment, Yao Minjing flew over from afar and said, "This person's aura is exactly the same as the one in the land of demon affinity." Damn. Jun Changshao was enlightened. So it's really the demon ancestor. Yi Xingchen's eyes lit up because this guy's body was too perfect. Too tempting. Not good. The demon ancestor, who was surrounded, felt a strong sense of uneasiness. He vaguely heard someone singing. Snowflakes fluttering, northern wind whistling, heaven and earth vast. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.